What is up, you sick, twisted, degenerate gamblers? It's a Monday evening, and you know what that means. We are back on the Die Hard MMA podcast. We're talking UFC Vegas 40. Can you believe it? 40. That's what's up. We're going to do our very best to make you some damn cash, and guess what we're rocking today? The blue, baby. The Die Hard stimulus check. We earned it this week. We had ourselves one hell of a UFC Vegas 39, and I couldn't be more, baby, I'm feeling myself today. Let's go. We have got Dog MMA in the chat. First comment, what's up? Abs in here. Mystic Sosa recognizing the Agapova. Dylan R. We've got Aiden Simone, my boy, Uncle Weezy. Nope. Our boy from last week who just absolutely crushed that card with me from start to finish. I'm seeing everybody here in the chat. Joseph Nessenbaum. We've got Limitless Music. We've got Stephen Code, Brian, Anthony, Jake Berlin, FTO Combat. The names are flying by, so I can't keep up with all of you in here now. But I am amped up. I am ready to go. We are coming off of a 12.6 unit win in one single night. Everybody worrying, freaking out about the 7-unit loss last week. Rearview mirror, baby. We said we were going to do it. I gave you all the speech last week from Rocky 4. There is no tomorrow, and that's what we did. We sat down, we stacked some cash, and I am so amped up for this week's show. You guys have no idea. I'm okay. I gotta calm down just a little bit. I'm feeling myself just a little bit too much. So what I'm gonna do so I can keep the gravy train rolling is bring in one of our absolute all-time favorite GOAT guests, my boy Manpreet. You may know him as MMA Lock of the Night. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm really feeling that energy that you're bringing into this podcast today, as I would, especially with the 12-unit win this past week. And I did cash my Lock of the Night play as well with Matthias Nicolau, a little bit closer than I wanted it to be, but luckily he was able to come through. So it's always good to have, the next weekend that you're going up with at least having a Lock of the Night play hit the weekend before. So I'm feeling you right now, Clint. I'm totally feeling you. I'm glad that I can help balance you out so that we can still focus on the 11-fight card that we got coming up this week. And then when you hit me up for it, I'm like, let's fucking do it. It's a shitty card, but the thing that I told you is, like, me and you are probably the best at making shit pie out of shit. So might as well do the best we can to break down this card for you guys, and hopefully replicate a 12-unit night, maybe even more this weekend.
Oh, big facts, Lock. These are the types of nights that we do well on. And hey, worst case scenario, we're going to give you a damn fun show to watch, but I'm pumped to go dumpster diving with you, my friend. I seem to have a knack for hitting these shit little cards here, so if we can put together a nice shit pie for this weekend, I'd be pretty excited about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of intriguing spots on this card, so I can't wait to break it down for you. But yeah, usually these shit cards are the ones that actually deliver in terms of entertainment. So us hardcore fans who will more than likely be watching the card, I'm sure we'll still get our entertainment, even though the name value is less than optimal.
Absolutely. All right, man. I got to shout out Raul Daga giving the $9.99 donation. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate that. Anything that you guys donate here in the live chat is going to go to supporting Pub Sports Radio. They have been putting on some incredible content. They brought me under the wing. I'm extremely grateful to be here at Pub Sports Radio, so we appreciate any and all donations. Thank you so much for that, my friend. We appreciate it. Jacksonville Zoe in the chat. What's up, buddy? Josh Locke, Spender Jazz. We got everybody flowing in here. I love it. All right. So we just kind of already recapped last week a little bit. Obviously, Locke hit his Lock of the Night. I sucker punched that card right in the teeth and we destroyed it. So I'm not going to spend too much time. We don't need to go back over the whole thing. We hit basically everything. Agapova by sub at 8-1. I got to ask you though, Locke. I got a bone to pick with you.
Hit me.
Agapova by sub was my entry for the Lock of the Night event, and I didn't get a tweet. I didn't get a, you always give out the highlights for each event, and I'm like sitting there waiting. I'm doing this bad boy. I'm like, I am relevant in the Lock of the Night contest because of that, and no tweet. No tweet.
You know what it is. So the past couple of weeks, I've mainly just been giving shout outs to the top 3 guys at the end of each week. And then there was one guy that came in 4th place because he was only 0.04 units out of 3rd place, which is why I gave him a little bit of a shout out there. But if you placed in the top 3, I would have hit you up for sure. Not to mention, we just saw the Dog of the Night challenge wrap up, so I was busy calculating that and paying out all those people as well. But no, as soon as I saw and came across your name, I saw that Agapopo by sub. I'm like, God damn, Clint, you did it. You did it. You're inching closer and closer. You still got about, less than 2 months left now to try to crack that top 3, but plenty of time. I think there's about 9 or 10 events left, so plenty of time to close that gap and try to place in the money there, brother.
I'm chipping away, man. I'm chipping away. And I got to give you some shit. You used to shout out like the biggest score for the card or whatever for a while. You were tweeting those things out. And obviously that's when I was, whiffing like none other. So I never got the tweet. I got to crack into that top 3 though, if I want to hope it hitting the cash.
There you go. There you go. It's again, 9 events left. You got more than enough time, brother.
We'll get there. All right. Boston Nick MMA in the house. What's up, buddy? Love seeing you here in the chat tonight. All right. Anybody curious, my degenerate action tonight, I'm just going overs. Over first half, 23 points, I think it was, and then over full game, 46.5 for the Colts and Ravens football game tonight. I think the Colts are going to put up a better fight than people realize, and I think Lamar Jackson's going to have to throw the ball. So I think we actually get some points. Anyway, moving on. I know it's an MMA show. You're here for the MMA, so let's talk about some fights. First fight of the night coming up here on Saturday, UFC Vegas 40. Ariane Carnelossi taking on Istela Nunes. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. But we've got Nunes coming in here. She is 6-1, making her UFC debut. And she has, from what I understand, a 50-4 Muay Thai record, which is something that we need to definitely take note of here. She is no stranger to combat sports coming into this fight. Now, she hasn't fought since 2018, so she's had a little bit of a layoff, but she's only 29 years old. So this is kind of the prime time where you're going, okay, so maybe there was COVID, maybe there was some other stuff going on, but she took the opportunity to stay out of competition. And personally, I would expect massive improvements from that kind of a layoff with an athlete of this caliber. She's extremely light on her feet, fast kicks. She's got a snapping head kick that comes out of nowhere. She has a long jab. She loads up one big shot at a time sometimes. She can kind of lull herself into a single strike type of game plan, which generally speaking, I'm not a huge fan of, but again, I would expect improvements from that game in this time off. The hole in her game for MMA really has been the ground game. We know she's got that striking background, so she's going to be catching up when it comes to the grappling. Now, Carnelossi, she is 13-2, and she's coming off of one of the most exciting round ones in women's MMA history, man. They were scrambling all over the place, back and forth. She's big. She's strong. She's stocky. She's muscular. She kind of reminds me of a young Jessica Andrade, if you will. Nasty ground and pound, 9 wins by KO, TKO. I mean, I almost feel like I could bring my tinfoil hat out here for this one. It seems like the UFC is trying to trade the hype that Nunes just got in her last fight, or I'm sorry, that Carnelossi just got in her last fight for her opponent, Nunes, because who comes off of a 3-year layoff, 6-1 record, and takes on somebody like Carnelossi in their first fight in the UFC? It seems like a decent jump up. It almost feels like a vote of confidence from the UFC matchmaking, if I'm being honest. We've got Carnelossi a -175 favorite, +140, +145, the underdog on Nunes Lock. How do you feel about this one? How do you see the first fight of the night playing out?
Well, first and foremost, we gotta address the elephant in the room with Nunes here, coming off a 2-year USADA suspension. It's
That's
been
fair.
That reason as to why she's been sitting out of the cage for as long as she has. She was scheduled to make her debut, I believe, back in 2019 against Angela Hill, and that's when she ends up popping. And
so it's a fair fight, is what you're saying.
It's a fair fight, is what I'm saying. I love it. I love it. It seems like she was an American Top Team product, but since she popped, it seems like she's just been spending time down there in Brazil training at her home gym. Doesn't seem like anybody notable is out of there, so she's pretty much just maybe the lone wolf coming out of that gym there. Exactly. Aiden Simone talking about it as well here with Ariane Carnelossi on the juice for sure. How can she not be, right, considering the physique that she has coming into the cage? Carnelossi will always hold a special part of my heart because of her fight with Nali Young. That fight was absolute bonkers, batshit crazy. And not to mention, it was a first fight back in front of a live crowd, right? I believe that was way back at UFC 261. First fight of the night. Both girls come out, guns ablazing, and the crowd is just eating it up. Like, you don't often see crowds that packed that early, but it was the first event back, and everybody was itching for some MMA, and we saw a ton of craziness in that fight there. We saw Liang have a couple close submission attempts, Carnelossi get out of them, and then absolutely
that was such a fun fight.
Her. Crazy. Now Liang just absolutely letting her gas tank go within 4 minutes of that fight, and then Carnelossi was able to take over. This fight, I'm having a little bit of a difficulty in terms of breaking down in terms of who should actually be winning. It seems like one of those spots where it's going to be a striking battle, where one person is going to be moving forward the entire time. In my opinion, that's going to be Carnelossi chucking heavy bombs, Jessica Andrade-esque, as you were saying before. And then we're going to have Nunes on the outside trying to pick her apart from distance and trying to maintain her distance to be effective with her striking. For me, this fight's an all-in-all pass, right? We got to see what Nunes is coming back here. Is that layoff and that USADA suspension going to have that much of an effect on her? You know, I don't see the reason to play her or even, you know, to even take that little bit of a shot on her as a feeler, considering it's her first fight back in 3 years. And like I said, off the juice. Apparently they caught her for a bunch of shit. So like, it's not just, she was just trying to sneak away with one thing, but the article that I read was she got popped for multiple types of steroids. So she was on some shit. That's for sure, Clint.
Hey, if you're going to take it, you might as well take it all.
But the funny thing is, even before you make your UFC debut, you get popped for everything, right? There's another fighter. I can't remember who, but another Brazilian actually, which was funny. I want to say it was Carlos Felipe, but I can't recall who exactly it was. But in terms of how this matchup is going to go, I think it's going to be pretty much a 50-50 fight, which, you know, normally you would say take the underdog shot then, but I'm just not taking the underdog shot on a chick that is, you know, again, all the reasons that we just laid out here. I'm going to say Carnelossi just bull rushes forward, throws heavy hooks, throws heavy shots, lands the more effective strikes, and then takes home a decision victory because by all indications, this chick seems pretty durable. Nunes seems durable, and I think she'll be able to take a shot here. But I do like, exactly. More than that.
My guy Sosa knows what's up.
Exactly. Shout out to Mystic Sosa right there. But yeah, I'm going to go Carnelossi decision just with her, you know, sheer forward movement and pressure that I think she's going to be putting on here.
Okay, man. I'm going to take an early dog or pass stance on this one, but I'm probably not going to bet this one just because, kind of like you said, massive question marks around both sides of this thing. I agree with you with how the fight is going to play out. I do think that it's going to be Carnelossi coming forward. Nunes is going to have to kind of play the matador, but I think she's going to be the more technical striker. The question is, who's going to be ringside? Because if you've got those judges that think forward pressure and big shots are what scores, Carnelossi wins this thing on the judges' scorecards. If you've got the judges that favor the finesse, the ones that like it when you're evasive and you don't get hit as much, even though you're not doing damaging shots, are you landing more often? Then Nunes is going to get the nod. So I think this one's going the distance. I think it's going to be close. Probably one of those 1-1 going into round 3 type of situations, and we have no clue who's going to end up on top. And like I was saying, man, if it's going to go to a split, I'll take the dog. So I'll lean with Nunes plus 140, but I'm probably not betting it.
Over 2.5 is minus 185, which just recently dropped as well, in case that tickles anybody's fancy.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't hate that. As much as we've seen Carnelossi with that KO power, I think Nunes is tough. I think she's durable. And even if Nunes got a new doctor, which I'm sure by now she has, I don't know that you're knocking out Carnelossi. I don't think anybody's knocking out Carnelossi. So
yeah, right. Like her only loss was that Angela Hill cut, and that was really about it.
Yeah. So I don't see this one getting stopped personally, and I'm always voting for the unders. You guys know I love my violence bets, and I think this one's hitting the judges.
Right there with you, Clint.
All right, glad we at least agree on that part of it, man. Now, this next fight, you guys have no idea how long I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting so long. We've got Brandon Davis taking on Danaa Batgerel, and I think it's Garil, not Garel. You guys, it's been so long. Like, seriously, my fan base, as far as the podcast and the people that hear me talk on a week-to-week basis, most of you probably don't even know Brandon Davis. That's my boy. He made a UFC run earlier on and got dropped, and I was disgusted. Unfortunately, he went like 1-4 in his UFC run, so I understand why he got the axe. But his last 2 fights were by split decision over very, very tough competition. And I just feel like they did him dirty, man. Everybody brace yourselves, because I feel like this entire week you're going to hear about how bad Brandon Davis is. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there looking to bet against Brandon Davis, looking to fade Brandon Davis, and I will be the first one to tell you that's the wrong approach. This man is far more skilled than anybody ever gives him credit for. He's a BJJ black belt. He's durable as fuck. He's never been knocked out. He's got solid striking. The only complaint that I have with Brandon Davis is that every once in a while he makes some low IQ decisions, which kind of led to those splits that we were talking about. He got dropped from the UFC because of those close, tightly contested fights that could have very easily gone his way. Enrique Barzola, Zabit Magomed Desharipov. He's got a submission win over Randy Costa, and then he dropped a split to Kyung Ho Kang and a split to Giga Chikadze. So, I mean, people need to not disrespect my guy, and that's exactly what I feel like is happening here. Danaa Batgerel, we made some good money on this man the last time out. He's 9-2, and he just walks people down. He's a patient striker, and he's a sniper, man. He picks his shots, and he's got crazy power in that right hand of his. Fast, accurate boxing, and an absolute cannon of a right hand. That nasty check left hook. I mean, this dude is dirty, and I love it. I've backed him before. He's a guy that I circled and wanted to back moving forward, but I don't think I can do it here. I mean, we talk about Brandon Davis and his recent run in the UFC that people are kind of counting him out for. Let's flip back and talk about his opponent, Danaa Batgerel. He suffered a loss to Haile Alateng. Now, that's not a bad loss. I'm not going to fault him for that whatsoever. But his bounce-back wins, back-to-back round one knockouts, were over Guido Canetti, who was coming off a 3-year layoff and who is 1-4 in his last 5. And then he KO'd Kevin Natividad, a guy that we saw murdered on national television. He came back 6 months after that knockout and had to eat fists from Danaa Batgerel. Of course he was going to knock out Natividad. In fact, I was a Natividad backer, and I bet against him with Danaa Batgerel. So I feel like those last 2 knockouts were maybe a little manufactured, if I will. Not that he doesn't have power, because he does. But I think that we have to put a little bit of an asterisk next to those. And as I mentioned before, one of my favorite aspects of Brandon Davis is the fact that he is durable as shit. This guy is a warrior. He will never stop coming forward. He will never stop fighting for your money, even when it's in the 3rd round and everybody's tired. He's going to roll for a Darce. He kind of reminds me of like Tony Ferguson style crazy, that he just goes for shit when it's on the line. I love that. So he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here in this spot. He's got more experience, and I think he's coming back with a vengeance for his next UFC run, man. I am eyeballing my guy Brandon Davis big time here in this spot. He's a plus 160 underdog right now, minus 200 the favorite Danaa Batgerel, and I'm being patient because I think, like I said, I think people are going to fade Davis. So I think I might get a little bit more plus money later on in the week. That's the reason I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I'm looking dog here. Manpreet, talk to me, buddy. Am I crazy for wanting to back my guy here in this spot? What do you think?
If you're crazy, I'm crazy, because I'm absolutely right on par with you there with Brandon Davis.
Let's go.
I like him in this spot as well. The not back gorilla is like that new class of the Jackson Wing fighters, which is like, right? Like we got Steve Garcia, who won this past weekend. Khalid Murtazaliyev in Bellator, obviously losing his fight over there. John Jones, Holly Holm. Like those are the only names that you really hear from Jackson Wink nowadays, right? They don't pop up often. Now Danaa Batgerel for some reason is setting up camp over there, and I don't really understand why. But if it's working out for him like it has over the last couple of fights, then I'm sure he's not going to change what's not broken at this point in time. However, I find it interesting that Danaa Batgerel went into that Guido Canetti fight as a minus 130 dog, and now he's a minus 185, minus 200 favorite over a much more experienced and reliable Brandon Davis, at least in comparison to Guido Canetti. Davis, long, lengthy, has some good striking, BJJ black belt, like you said as well. I think that's very much going to come into play here. We saw him kind of use it against Giga Chikadze. That was that one weird thing where we thought it was a draw because they called it a draw inside the cage, and then afterwards at the press conference they said, "Oh, we just misread it. Giga Chikadze actually ended up winning this fight." But yeah, that was one of the weird things that happened that time.
That's when you knew the UFC was behind Giga Chikadze at that point. Draw? No, not a draw.
no, it wasn't a draw. But yeah, he made a pretty good case for himself even in that fight, even in a loss against a guy like Giga Chikadze, who in my opinion is probably a more dangerous striker than what Danaa Batgerel brings to the table.
He stood with him for like 10 out of 15 minutes of that fight, man. Like and that's where like the IQ question came in. I was like, every once in a while he makes bad choices. You grapple that man, especially at that stage of his career. And Brandon Davis never leaves the UFC. Giga Chikadze has a much harder path to where he is now, but he didn't. He stood with him and he didn't do bad.
Yeah, he held his own for sure. I think he'll be able to hold his own here against Batgerel, but I think that ace in the pocket for him is going to be possibly chasing takedowns, trying to drag this fight to the ground, use that BJJ black belt because, Batgerel, he can go over there and train at Jackson Wink as much as he wants, but you're not going to be able to develop those ground skills, that quickly. And coming from Mongolia as mainly a kickboxer Muay Thai specialist, it's going to be difficult for him to completely transition over to MMA. Like if you look over to the majority of his career, the only time he's really went up against a legitimate grappler was Haile Alatang, right? I believe he was a part of the Chinese wrestling team or something like that. But he really only went to that wrestling in that third round where, some people are even calling it 10-8 for Haile Alatang in that third round because he was having so much success on the ground. He really beat up Batgerel on the ground in that third round where we saw Batgerel almost have his eye closed by the time that final bell finally rang. Very much
he was lumped up, man.
Very much lumped him up. So it's difficult for me to think that, Brandon Davis won't choose that type of path here. Hopefully he's shored up his fight IQ skills. Maybe the getting cut from the UFC was a bit of a wake-up call for him. And he's been able to go out there and win 4 straight fights on the regional scene. He's still putting in work, and now he's finally making a return to the UFC. I think this is a great stylistic matchup for him to go out there, land takedowns, get that top control going, some damage from on top, maybe even open up a submission attempt for himself, as I think that will definitely be a viable path to victory for him here. So I do like Davis, and just like yourself, I'll likely wait this one out. I'm hoping that we're not going to be turning people on to Brandon Davis too much here, and we never get that line that we're looking for. But even at plus 160, I'm okay to pull the trigger there. However, let's not get too greedy. Let's see if we can potentially get a better line here. And, I just think automatically people are going to be betting Danaa Batgerel, considering that, former UFC fighter Brandon Davis making a short notice appearance here. But, again, like when you're wiki capping things like this, you overlook the skill set that Brandon Davis truly has. And I think that we'll see it this weekend against, again, stylistically, a very good opponent for him.
Lock, I think you may have misspoke. Let's not be too hasty. Let's be greedy and wait for a better line.
Okay, there we go. Let me switch up my wording there. You got me, Klein. You got me.
Because I want to be greedy, man. If you can give me plus 175 on Brandon Davis, I'm all about it. No, I'm right there with you, man. I will take this plus 160, this plus 165. I'm for it right now. But I think the market is going to go the other direction. If it drops to plus 150, I'm not going to cry about it. This should be at least a pick'em style fight. Like, you could make the argument for Brandon Davis being a slight favorite just based off their skill sets, in my opinion. So I'm fine with any plus money that I get on Brandon Davis. We got 168 live viewers right now. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us this evening. Don't bet him yet. If you're with us, if you're going to rock with us, just chill on Brandon Davis. He's still going to be there. We can bet him Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, hopefully when we get a slightly bigger number. I'm glad you agree with me on that one, man. That makes me feel a whole hell of a lot better.
Yeah, you know what? Like pre-tape, I was just like, I like Danaa. I'll probably pass on this fight. But then I started reminding myself and started watching the tape. I'm like, oh shit, Brandon Davis, like from what I remember, he was scrappy. He was a good scrappy guy, very durable. Yep. Obviously only like lost inside the UFC by finish was that weird Sulemaev stretch, whatever the fuck they call it, by Zabit Magomedsharipov. But yeah, the guy's
who does that?
Who does that? Exactly. Zabit does. But that's about it. I'm not expecting Danaa to go out there and pull off a Suleiman stretch or whatever the fuck it's called. I love it. I don't see that happening. Exactly.
I love it, man. I love it. Let's do this. Hey, shout out to my guy in the chat here, Cameron Cox. Off topic, but I've got the Ravens to close out a 20-1 parlay. Cox, buddy, hit the spread. You got plus 7.5 on the Colts tonight. Give yourself a nice window for that middle. If it's a money line parlay, take the spread on the Colts. It's a perfect hedge opportunity. And if this fight comes down to a field goal, you catch both. Like, you're in a great spot if that's a money line parlay. If it's on the spread, I would still hedge it a little bit for the 20-1, but definitely middle it if you can.
I wish I could help with NFL stuff, but I just watched the Super Bowl, Clint. I apologize.
See, like you gotta step up, man. The degeneracy. Yeah. NHL season's right around the corner. I'm firing out touchdown props on football. Like, come on, buddy. There's action.
I rely on my Discord chat to kind of tip me off to these other sports and other plays. And sometimes I'll wake up and be like, you know what? I want to either lose or win some money today.
That's what it's all about, man.
Exactly.
Just for a little bit of fun while you're watching the game. All right. Sir. Real quick, I got to shout out my other sponsors. You guys know all about it by this point. GOAT Capital Sports. Check them out at GOAT Capital _ on Twitter. Let them know Clint sent you. Like I said, I fool around with the NHL. I fool around with the NFL. MMA is my baby. But beyond that, I don't know shit. So if you're looking for golf, baseball, basketball, amateur curling, snail racing, like they will get you taken care of as far as picks. It's a very reasonably priced package, and it's got a refund option. If you lose with their picks over the course of a week, they refund you the $25 subscription. It is a weekly subscription, so make sure you check out GOAT Capital Sports. They've been with me since the beginning, so much love, much respect for those guys. Definitely appreciate them. All right. And hey, thank you, Z Goalie, for the recognition. NHL might legitimately be my second best sport. I went on a run last year, and I might start tracking this year to see if maybe I'm actually half decent at it. We'll see. And I will be picking the Islanders 82 times this season because they keep freaking winning and cashing tickets. I've already hit them at 20-1 to hoist the cup this year. Let's freaking go. All right. Sorry. Back on track. Back to the MMA.
Let's go, Clint.
Let's go. Ľudovít Klein taking on Nate the Train Landwehr. All right. This is going to be, I mean, if you're looking for violence, you found it. This is the spot. I mean, Nate the Train is a guy that will never, ever be in a boring fight because he just comes forward, he sticks in your face, and he forces you into a gunfight. Like every single time this man fights, he is going to kill or be killed and just break you with pressure and pace, or he's going to be the one that cracks. Like before he came to the UFC, he was crazy durable. And honestly, like, not to throw too many allegations around, but I feel like USADA may have played a role in the fact that he's gotten a couple of KO losses since he's been in the UFC because, man, if you watch his pre-UFC tape, you can hit this man in the face with a crowbar and he will still punch you in the gut and just take you down and keep on coming at you. He doesn't seem to have the durability he used to now that he's been in the UFC, so I have a little sneaking suspicion. Our boy Ľudovít Klein on the flip side of this thing, very light on his feet. He's very similar to like Giga Chikadze. He's got his own signature head kick that he's got like a name and a technique for. Nasty knockout power on this guy. I really like Klein. He likes to play the outside. He sets up his strikes nicely, and he's kind of the polar opposite of Nate Landwehr. He's patient. He likes to mix in the takedowns. He's short. He's stocky. And you know what? He actually used his grappling, even though he lost to Trizano. He used his grappling very intelligently. He was trying to seal off rounds at the end of the round, take your opponent down, end up on top, have that last impression on the judges. Like, I really think that he's got that high fight IQ that we look for when it comes to sports betting. The only problem is that the man is a massive, massive favorite. The story is out. We know that Nate the Train is not as durable as he once was, and he's taken on a knockout power specialist. Ľudovít Klein is a minus 300 favorite. You've got plus 230 on the underdog, Nate the Train, and you got to feel he maybe gets his walking papers if he can't get it done on Saturday. Lock, is there value on the dog here? Or are we just riding the chalk?
I honestly, I really don't think that there's much value on Landwehr here. I'm very big on Klein myself. I did actually fade him last time around with Trezano because I just felt the line was a little bit too wide. And I think we're getting a much better and more with Trezano, we're getting a much more technical and disciplined fighter. You know, like the majority of that fight was Klein kind of just backpedaling and Trezano kind of controlling the center of that fight or the ring there. But the best thing that he did, in my opinion, was like not just cut him off, but like use strikes to kind of corral Klein into certain spots, whether it's kicks, whether it's punches, whatever it was. Trezano did a really good job in terms of kind of putting Klein in positions that he wanted him to be in. And, ultimately why he won that fight, in my opinion. And like you touched on, very good fight IQ from Klein to mix in a couple of takedowns when he needed to, although it wasn't enough for him to actually get his hand raised that night. With Landwehr, though, Landwehr's just going to chase him around the cage. He's not going to try to cut him off. He's going to be running in circles trying to find Klein, and Klein will be able to counter effectively and then eventually find that chin of Landwehr. I'd be very surprised if Landwehr does not fall asleep in this fight, and I mean by knockout, as Klein will more than likely be able to find that chin here. Klein will be deserving of that minus 300 in this spot, in my opinion, minus 400, even if you want to call it that. Like, whatever odds he was in the Trezano fight, he should be that here. And I think that there might be a little bit of concern from people saying that, oh, he, screwed the pooch last time as a big favorite, but two completely different fights here. You got a very skilled and educated Trezano compared to a madman and wild man in Landwehr, whose chin just is not able to hold up and deal with the amount of damage that's coming his way. So I really like Klein in this spot. Personally, I've already parlayed him as one of my big spots for this weekend, which the other I like we'll talk about a little bit later in this card. But I do like Klein a lot in this spot. You can take him inside the distance if you want a better line, but I think he's a very much of a parlayable spot for this weekend. And I think, unfortunately, actually, you know what? They might keep Landwehr, considering his entertainment value that he brings to the cage, right? He's fun to watch. They might give him another shot. They know what they're doing, kind of putting him up against Klein here. We know what kind of knockout power Klein has as well. Klein obviously spending a ton of time over there at Sanford MMA as well. We obviously know those guys do almost no wrong whenever their fighters come out of that training camp. So hopefully he's able to go out there and make these guys proud and deliver us another first round knockout, just like he did against Shane Young in his UFC debut. So yeah, I'm all aboard the Klein train for this weekend.
Okay, Lock, I like it, man. I honestly couldn't agree with you more. I think that Klein is due for another head kick. We haven't seen that head kick knockout for a long time, and I think that it comes this week. Nate will run straight into it, and I just don't see any evidence that Nate, the train, is going to change up what he does.
But my only, let's just try to look at it from the Nate Landwehr perspective. Decent takedown defense, right? He's a decent wrestler himself. So in case Klein wants to go out there and try to take this fight to the ground, he's going to have to deal with a little bit of resistance. Let's not overlook that aspect. And then optically speaking, he's going to be the one kind of moving forward, but I think he's going to be the one eating the big shots, which is why hopefully the judges, if this does go the full 15 minutes, they'll see the more damaging blows coming from the Klein side compared to Landwehr. Just, again, seamlessly or mindlessly moving forward and throwing big strikes. That's the only way I really see Landwehr winning this fight, is a decision where optically he's the one moving forward the entire time. But hard for me to believe that he's going to be able to eat the power of Klein for 15 minutes.
I was, and that's the big question, right? Because I was just going to say, Locke, he actually has a UFC win on his record that he did not deserve based on him being the forward-moving fighter. Nate the Train beat my guy Darren the Damage Elkins in a fight that I very much scored it for Darren Elkins, but because he was the guy coming forward, because Elkins had blood all over his face, the judges felt like Nate Landwehr did the more damage, and they felt like he won the fight. You go back and you watch that thing, Elkins clearly won that fight. It was just a matter of the blood made it look bad. So, yeah, I mean, if you feel like Landwehr is live in this spot, he's going to be moving forward. If he manages to get back on the EPO that lets him recover quickly enough to survive some of those big power shots and walks through everything Ľudovít Klein has to offer, then maybe he does win this thing. But I don't know that Nate is finishing Ľudovít Klein. I'm not sure. I mean, he's got power. Don't get me wrong. He's strong. He hits hard. We've got Klein, who's lost once by each method. So he's been knocked out once, submitted once, decision one time. Like, I would lean more towards Nate having a decision victory if he was going to get it done. So yeah, I mean, I guess take the shot on the dog if you feel that way. But honestly, I just think the power of Klein is going to be too much.
Plus 450 Landwehr by decision. I think that's probably his best path to win this fight if you want to take a shot out on him at all. I'd be surprised if he finishes Klein, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. And ZW, good call. The blood was from a head clash, so yes. It wasn't even a punch.
I'm pretty sure there's a head clash in the first round, and then the second round, beautiful elbow from Landwehr that actually cut Elkins right at the top of his forehead. But yeah, the first one though was from a head clash, and that just spurted every fucking where.
Well, and man, I mean, Darren Elkins, he wakes up with face cuts. Like the guy has so much scar tissue, his pillow dices him up overnight. So you're not saying a ton.
Exactly.
And JT Kill, he got the win over Elkins, and he's exciting. He's not going to get cut if he gets this loss here. We're being a little facetious. He's definitely going to be hanging around for a bit, especially with that fun, entertaining style. He's the guy that will take 4 losses in a row, and the UFC's like, maybe one more.
you think Dana's going to cut a guy that's yelling his name in the middle of a fight as blood is fucking pouring everywhere? No.
Yep.
He loves guys like this.
No, that's exactly his type of dude. So he's not going anywhere.
Unless your name is Sam Alvey. That's a topic for another day though.
You know what? We need to do like we got to come up with some kind of a catchy name for like a talk show, because we could absolutely do like not a news podcast, but just like a talking about upcoming matchups and like crazy shit that's going on. Because I could talk, man, if you want to bring up like the whole Sam Alvey thing. Alvey's my boy. I have no clue how he's getting another shot here. The fact that he's getting a step up in competition against Ian Heinisch now, it's just like, I don't know. It's a very confusing situation.
He must have something on Dana White. Let's be honest. He must know something that Dana does not want out there.
Right. I mean, and you know me, man. I bet Alvey in like 3 of his 4 last fights. So like I've been arguing for him after that last one. I'm like, no, I think it's done. So
he even went to his own weight class. He went back to 185 and
that's what I'm saying. And he just comes out here and like starches the Hurricane.
That's likely too, which is
that would be the most Alvey thing of all time. He starches the Hurricane after all this shit and keeps his slot.
I can't wait to see your reaction if that actually happens.
Oh, dude, I'll be filming for sure because they're gonna give me 7-1 on Sam Alvey.
Of course. Even better odds on the KO. Fuck.
Right. Okay. All right. Back on track.
back on the railroad here.
Before we get back on track, we've got 200 live viewers and only like 61 likes. Come on, people.
What's up with that?
We're handing out winners. We're having a good time. We're making you laugh. Smash the like button for us. Do me a favor. All right. Next fight up, Sijara Eubanks taking on Luana Carolina. And this is a fight that, honestly, man, I'm very interested in. And that, may not surprise people because I'm interested in every fight. But this one seems, it could go a lot of ways. Like, I feel like you could argue this fight multiple different directions, and I wouldn't be able to tell you were wrong. Sijara Eubanks is the, bar none, best 500 fighter in history. She's got an 7-6 professional MMA record. So just one win over 500, but she's a BJJ black belt. She's a good wrestler. She's got big power. She strikes well, especially now that she's back down in her home weight class at 125. She's got crazy strength advantage over these girls. Like, Sarge is a problem at 125, and I can't even give her shit for gassing out anymore because she completely did away with the cardio questions. We know she can go a hard 15 minutes now. She's a finisher at this weight class. Like, what's not to love about Sijara Eubanks? I mean, the only issue is that it seems a little late in the career that she figured it out. She's 36 years old, so she's on a bit of a clock. But besides that, she's solid. Luana Carolina, on the flip side of this thing, is 7-2. She is going to have a reach advantage here in this spot. I believe a 2-inch reach advantage. She's got a 90% takedown defense rating, but she hasn't fought the stiffest level of competition so far in the UFC. So that's, a little question next to that takedown defense. She's only a BJJ blue belt, so she's definitely gonna be outclassed if this thing hits the mat. But she feels like a fighter who's a blue belt because they're focused on MMA, not because of any other reason. The things that she does on the mat, when she grapples, she's pretty slick, man. She's got some nasty offensive jiu-jitsu. And I feel like if she was not doing MMA, she'd probably be a purple or a brown belt. You know what I mean? Like she's blue because she doesn't have the time, like that kind of a situation. But I'm pretty impressed with actually what she's able to do on the floor, jiu-jitsu wise. If you go back and you watch the fight with Poliana Botelho had her in deep shit in round one. And that's kind of the biggest concern for me here, is that she was not able to get out of that position herself. She had to wait until the end of the round and then basically came back and fought her ass off in rounds 2 and 3. Didn't end up back on the ground again after that. But the fact that she ended up on the ground and didn't have a way back to her feet in that first round is just the biggest glaring red flag going up against Sarge here, because Sarge is going to be better than Botelho pretty much everywhere. She's going to be stronger than Botelho, in my opinion. I think this is a Sarge smash spot, but I'll be honest, I'm a little high on Luana Carolina. I think she's kind of a sleeper. I think in a fight or two, when she puts it all together, she's actually going to end up being a bit of a problem. So I don't know if I like this minus 250 price tag, because that improvement, that turning of the corner could come for my girl Luana Carolina at any point in time. I'd say this is a favorite or pass spot, but Lock, I have been burned by parlaying Sijara Eubanks before. So what's the move here, buddy?
Parlay Sijara Eubanks. she no shit though, Clint here. Sijara actually is the second leg of my lock of the night parlay for this card, man. I think she actually blows through Luana Carolina in this spot. I am not impressed much by Luana Carolina, especially with the level of competition she's been going up against. Poliana Botelho is not even a grappler. She is a striker who looked to work on her grappling after getting grapple fucked by Julian Robertson, I believe, before that. So the amount of success that she had in that first round, let's times that by 10 here with Sijara Eubanks, with what she's going to be able to do on top, especially like with that Elise Reed fight, right? We knew that she was going to get a finish in that fight. Everybody was expecting it, especially considering that Sijara Eubanks not notoriously a finisher, right? That was like her first finish in years. I think she gets this fight down pretty easily, and I think she's going to be able to, pretty much do what she wants against Luana Carolina, right? Like, when do you see somebody get tapped to an arm bar like the one she got, or a knee bar like when she fought Ariane Lipski, right? That was one of the weirdest situations we've ever seen.
Don't disrespect the queen of violence.
I love Lipski as well, trust me. But, you can't be giving up submissions to her, especially a submission like that. But here you got Sijara Eubanks. Like we said, in the Elise Reed fight, she made no bones about what she wanted to do. Within the first 10 to 15 seconds of that fight, drags it to the ground, and then proceeds to go to work, slowly passing guard, getting to full mount, and then just unleashing hell. There were opportunities for her to go for an armbar, and she just like, you know what? No, it's not tight enough. Let me go back to full mount, and then I'm going to get back to work. I think that's what it's going to look like here with Luana Carolina, maybe even worse. You know what I mean? We saw Poliana Botelho have tremendous success in terms of getting to full mount and having some good positions on top. Sijara Eubanks, like I said, miles above what we're going to be seeing. And although Luana Carolina had some good moments of her own, especially in that third round where she was controlling Poliana from on top, I highly doubt we see that even transpire here against a girl like Sijara Eubanks. Like you said, you nailed it on the head in terms of that cardio issue a lot of people expect her to have in the middle part of her career. She's shortened that up. She's, she went a hard 3 rounds against Julia Avila, a very solid grappler in her own right as well, yet she was able to control her for the majority of 15 minutes in that fight. I think she'll have less resistance here against a girl like Luana Carolina. And then her, like you're talking about, that 90% takedown defense rate. 0-5 was Mobelli Lima. That was her Dana White Contender Series fight. 0-5. And the girl was way smaller than her, did not even deserve to be in that weight class, and just couldn't even sniff a takedown in that fight. Priscilla Cachoeira, she went 0-2 on takedowns. But those takedown attempts were like, one of the takedown attempts, she goes for a single leg, and Luana just wraps up a guillotine, and then she just stops going for it.
And that's not the same Cachoeira, let's be real.
Exactly. But even if Carolina's takedown defense was to grab the neck of Eubanks is going to be like, great, I'll get this takedown, and then I'm going to get out of this guillotine choke because I know it's not going to work on me. And then the Botelho fight, there wasn't even a takedown in the Ariane Lipski fight. Do you remember how that fight ended up getting on the ground? Do you recall?
No. That, honestly, Lock, that's the one that I went, oh shit, I know this fight. I don't need to rewatch that one because I know exactly what happened here. Like,
dude, the fun, it literally made me spit my drink out while I was watching it. Where she throws a kick and Lipski just throws like a body punch and it just topples her over, and then she jumps on top of her.
Okay,
made my day watching that fight. And then Botelho, 1-4, lands that first takedown in the first round, grinds it out, and then I feel like she just wasn't strong enough, or at least didn't have the gas tank to truly get the fight to the ground again in the second and third rounds. I thought she very much struggled in that fight. And then obviously in the third round, we saw Carolina get the takedown there. But I love Eubanks in the spot. I've never really been high on her, but I'm very low on Luana Carolina. You're very high on her. I'm very low on her. I don't think she's UFC caliber.
Well,
she has good striking. Like she can go out there and beat a girl like Priscilla Castro, who's just gonna zombie forward the entire time. But then I think that she almost reminds me of Ferris Ziem. I believe a bantamweight fighter as well. Can do well in the striking realm, but obviously he's technically way better than Luana Carolina. But that's how Luana Carolina will win fights: maintain distance, throw the output, try to win that way. But I do think that Eubanks will be successful in grounding this fight, and I think that we'll see her get back-to-back finishes here. So I'm going Eubanks inside the distance. I would rather take inside the distance rather than a sub or a KO prop, because we know this, Clint. When you have such a dominant grappling advantage, you can pretty much pick whichever finish you want here.
Yeah. Don't play around with that, because if you're trying to pick sub versus knockout when both of them are on the table, there's going to be some upset feelings out there on Saturday.
Exactly. Yes, but yeah, all over Eubanks.
So
here.
Fair enough, man. I wouldn't say that I'm high on Luana Carolina. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about her future. You know what I mean? Not right now. I left myself a note right here, Lock. I said, Sarge's days are numbered. Is this the spot? Probably not.
Definitely not. In my opinion, definitely not.
I put a little asterisk next to it for me, not for you guys, for me to go, probably not. This ain't it, but just know I'm looking. So you know what? I don't ever talk about this on the show, Lock, but ever since a lot of sports books went live here in the States, if you're in a legalized area, live betting is all the rage. You can get in on the live betting, and it's a thing that I never consider or think about, and sometimes miss golden opportunities because I'm just not paying attention enough to the betting while I'm watching the fights. But if Sarge seems to struggle in round one, if Luana looks like she's made the improvements that I'm thinking are gonna come at some point and she gets out of that first round, I may look to live bet Luana Carolina, because she seems to get stronger as the fight goes on. So that'll kind of be my game plan here. I'm going to pass. I'm going to pick Sarge to win the fight. But if Luana looks good, or if Sarge has another rough weight cut, I think there's going to be ways for me to look at getting on this spot live to try and take advantage.
By the way, I have no idea what the fucking bookies are doing with this matchup. It didn't show up on a lot of my bookies until yesterday. It's been on best fight odds. It's been off best fight odds. A lot of people are wondering if this fight's even going to happen. So I quickly looked at Sijara Eubanks' IG, and she says she flies out to Vegas tomorrow. So the fight's on, folks. The fight is on. That's all I want to say.
Should be on. And
yes,
D. Spearman, buddy. Biggest UFC pay-per-view card. Could we get Lock, Clint, Saftik, and Wheezy on a show? I'm in. I'm in.
I could try to line that up for one of my Ultimate Weigh-In shows. Unless you want to do it on your show here, you're more than welcome to. But let's see what we can do, Clint.
I was gonna say, because we've got some high-powered UFC events coming up soon, or even the first pay-per-view of 2022 is gonna be a banger. Maybe that's something that we look at doing, because that would be a fun as shit show to pull off.
Line it up, Clint. Line it up.
All right, we'll look into it. It might be best for a Friday Ultimate Weigh-In. Not that I'm not picking your own roster for you on your show, but I know Cody can't make Mondays. That's the reason Cody Saftik, folks, has not been on my show. We've been in each other's DMs. We've been talking left and right. We have tried to make it work. His schedule and mine just don't sync up for my time slot on Monday nights. So that's the only reason we haven't done a show together yet. So we'll talk about it. That sounds like fun. I would definitely be in.
Noted.
All right. Next fight coming up, we have got Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts taking on Ramazan Emeev. And this fight, I'm just going to go ahead and start with the betting line. Why don't I? Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts is a plus 190 favorite, minus 250 for Ramazan Emeev. So you can get Ramazan Emeev for the same price tag that you can get Sijara Eubanks in her last fight. And man, Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts, more like Danny Warm Tea Roberts. This guy, He is not. He's just not that good, Lock. Like, I feel like we are seeing the decline of Danny Roberts in real time right now. I know he's 17-5. He's got a decent record. He's coming off of that big KO win, snapping a 2-fight skid. But let's be honest. He beat the most fraudulent Russian fighter that we have seen in a generation his last time out. I was going to make it, like, I was all prepped and ready to go, man. I was going to make a joke, Zelim Imadaev, but he's not an Ov. I was going to do they revoked his Ov, but he's Ev. And I was like, damn, it was right there. So he was Zelim Imadaev before he fought Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. Now he's Zelim Imadaev. So, I mean, let's be real. Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts, he's decent everywhere. He's a gatekeeper. He's serviceable. He's got decent power. He's got hard leg kicks. But, man, he's got 6% takedown accuracy. Like, for a guy that tries to mix in the level changes, he can't take anybody down. He's got 53% takedown defense. And now he's taking on Ramazan Emeev, a 20-4 real Russian grappler. He's on a 5-1 UFC run. He likes to mix up the striking and the grappling, but he is more than willing to pin you against the fence and just slow that clock down. He's got beautiful timing on his level changes. He works well in the clinch. Very strong body lock, will not get off of your hips, uses trip takedowns to get this thing to the floor. And like I said, just willing to grind. When he gets you pinned up against the fence, he will flurry with big power hooks on you. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. He averages 2.33 takedowns per 15 minutes. Like, man, the UFC was like, Danny, you busted the one Russian? Okay, we got you. We're going to get you on this one. I am all in on Ramazan Emeev at this point. I was looking at parlay pieces this week, and, Ľudovít Klein, Ramazan Emeev is kind of what I was eyeballing, man. I think he's a solid parlay piece, and I just don't think much of Danny Roberts at this stage. How do you feel about this fight, man?
Yeah, Emeev definitely up there for me as a potential parlay piece as well. I ultimately, like I said, ended up going with Eubanks and Klein, but Emeev and another fighter later on in this card were up there in terms of considerations. I don't like going longer than 2 legs in terms of an official lock than I play, which is why I ended up going with Eubanks and Klein. But yes, Mr. Teabag Roberts, I don't think he's going to have much. I don't think he's going to have much for Emeev here either. I think that Emeev is very technically solid in terms of his striking, in terms of staying away from big damage or anything like that. So I'd be surprised if Roberts lands anything clean enough to put him out. Emeev never been knocked down inside the UFC. What's his name? Anthony Rocco Martin did a really good job in terms of keeping that fight upright, but a lot of his damage kind of came from like kicks and, just being methodical from the outside. 0 of 9 Emeev was on takedowns in that fight, and that's how you beat this guy, is stuffing the takedowns. Don't let him get it into his realm and then start to go to work on the feet. And I just don't see Danny Roberts being able to do that, man. Train wherever you want, do whatever you want. Danny Roberts is a finished product at this point in time, and he's not going to be able to go out there and make the improvements that he needs to beat a guy like Ramazan Emeev. One of the things that I've said in the past about Emeev is he fights to the level of his competition, whether he's a minus 500 or whether he's an even money favorite, whatever the fuck you want to call it. He always makes the fights look like it's an even fight. But at this fight, I'd be very surprised if he makes it look like it's an even fight. He's going to land takedowns. He's going to be able to smother Danny Roberts. If he doesn't finish Danny Roberts, I don't think he finishes anybody ever. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, I like Emeev here. Minus 235 is, generous, in my opinion. Very, very generous of a line.
I agree.
For minus 235 on a guy like Ramazan Emeev and his level of expertise. I'm not sure why the public is low on him at this point, but this specific matchup, he should balloon up closer to 300 or minus 400, honestly, because how does he lose this fight? He's durable. He got knocked out once, 7 years ago? And then I think quickly avenged that loss right after that. I
think we're getting value because he's coming off the knockout win. I really feel like people think he's like better than he is because of his last fight. You know what I mean?
He knocked out a Russian. He'll probably knock out another one. Right?
Exactly. He's the Russian killer now.
Right exactly. No, I like Emeev here. I just don't see how he drops the ball, man. I'd be surprised if he drops the ball in this spot.
And J-Dog reading my mind. Round 3, sub prop sprinkle, baby. Give me all the sprinkles. I'm absolutely going to be round 3 sprinkling that spot because I just think after a while, he's going to wear down. Danny Roberts just isn't going to be able to handle the grappling, and I think the submission advantage on the flip side of this thing is huge. I think the power on the other side when Hot Chocolate gets tired is going to be a problem. So, it could be a round 2 finish for sure. Could be a ground and pound type of situation, but I'm leaning sub, and I'm definitely leaning the later this fight goes. I think round 3 is going to be a half decent spot.
I like those round 3s myself, Clint.
I love it. Very few of the other cappers in the space sprinkle the round 3 lock. So I know that's how we know, we work. We're best friends.
we're made for each other, Clint. We're made for each other.
That's what's up. And for anybody wondering, again, we're going to, derail here for a split second. The Colts have already struck, folks. I warned you guys, like everyone betting the under, everyone betting the Ravens. I think we're getting into a shootout, and the Colts are way more in this game than you thought. So good news for the overs there, an early touchdown run. Let's keep this bad boy rolling. We have got okay. Pause. We need to do the Step Brothers photo. We need to do the Step Brothers photo where they're like the family picture.
Yeah, if somebody's good enough with Photoshop, though, somebody's got to whip that shit together. I know, Clint, given your fan base, that will be up before this fucking stream is over.
That would be amazing.
I know.
That would be amazing. I got a t-shirt for somebody.
There you go. By the way, sorry, there's one guy that just keeps showing up on my streams. There's one guy that keeps showing up on my streams and saying t-shirt. Just randomly because of the one time I was on your stream.
Dude, I love it. I'm sorry. The humor dedication
yes.
that the chat has. That's why YouTube live streams are undefeated, because you will get shit like that. Like they just keep coming back to say t-shirt. That will never stop making me laugh. That's amazing.
I always shout that dude out. I forgot his username, but I'm sure as soon as he shows up on my streams, I'll remember again. Shout out to that guy.
All right. Let's actually talk about the next fight. Third time's a charm. Andrew Sanchez is taking on Bruno Silva, and this is big Bruno Silva, the real Bruno Silva.
Yeah.
Let me tell you guys, you've got one of my favorite fade fighters, someone who's overrated, taking on one of the newest, hottest things the UFC has to offer you. No! I'm betting Bruno Silva. I got 2.6 units at minus 130 on this, man. Oh, shit, I forgot the breakdown. So, Andrew Sanchez. So Andrew Sanchez, I'll give him credit, all right? He's a bit of a workhorse. He's a guy that likes to keep a good pace. He'll stay in your face. He's got decent striking, good boxing, decent power. He likes to wrestle. He kind of reminds me of Ian Heinisch. He'll pin you up against the fence to just win some minutes, things like that. But the fact is, he slows down bad over the course of the fight. He might have some chin issues, and when you get to round 3, he's just not really the same guy. The biggest thing is, man, we called the knockout in his last fight. Actually, his last 2 fights, he can't stop a right hand. That's his biggest weakness. Every single time this man gets rocked, go back and watch the tape. It's a right cross. He has nothing to do with it. 4 of his 6 professional losses have come by knockout. 3 of those knockouts have been in round 3. So you best damn well get ready for another round 3 sprinkle here, because it's another spot that I very much love. We cashed the one on Mahmoud Muradov when they fought. Bruno Silva on the flip side of this thing. This man is the king of ground and pound. I mean, he actively goes out and trains his ground and pound because he knows what an underrated skill it is, and he's got insane power. I mean, like, one punch will bounce your head off the canvas when he's on top of you. He can knock people out from inside their guard. Like, dude is nuts. And he's not a bad striker on the feet either. I mean, even though he's a little bit wild on the feet, he's got that power, and he likes to rip the rib cages. He likes to work the body with that power. And people worry about him. You know, is he the type of fighter that's going to be able to go the distance? Is he the type of fighter that's going to have gas issues because he throws everything into every fight? Man, if you watched the fight before he made it to the UFC, 5-round main event where he wrestled with a Russian, a good Russian, and it got into round 4. He was the one with the gas tank in round 4, and he pounded the dude out in the 4th round of that fight. So I have no questions about Bruno Silva's gas tank. The big question for me is Andrew Sanchez actually has pretty solid takedown defense. So I don't know if this fight will hit the ground. the big way that Andrew Sanchez wins this fight is if he's able to stick and move and avoid the power shots, keep it standing, and grind away a very, very disciplined 15-minute decision. And that's where I can't trust Andrew Sanchez to do that. In fact, I've seen multiple times that he can't and won't do that because of the way he fades. So I think that the deeper this fight goes, the more it favors Bruno Silva. I don't expect Andrew Sanchez to get a knockout early. If anybody's finishing it early, it's probably Silva. And if anybody's finishing it late, it's probably Silva. So I'm all in on the Silva side, man. How do you feel about this fight?
I'm actually going to be on the flip side of you here. I do like Andrew Sanchez in the spot because the one thing has been for Silva, especially going into that Turman fight, was everybody expected if Turman was able to get the fight to the ground, he was going to have success. And sure, his jiu-jitsu is better than what Andrew Sanchez brings to the table, but it seemed like he really struggled to assert that top control or even have much control over Bruno Silva, however long that fight ended up lasting. And then obviously we saw Bruno Silva absolutely smash his face through the canvas near the ending of that first round. But Andrew Sanchez, much better wrestler, will have the advantage in terms of getting this fight to the ground. I do think he will land takedowns here. Changed up his training camp once again. We knew he used to go over there at TriStar, produced a beautiful knockout victory over Wellington Turman, and then loses to Mahmoud Muradov in a fight where he just couldn't get his wrestling going. Mahmoud did a really good job in terms of stuffing the takedowns and then just letting his hands go. And that's where I think Andrew Sanchez starts to gas a lot more, is when he's uncomfortable in these striking situations against a much better striker. So I do believe that Bruno Silva is going to be the better striker in this fight, but I think he's going to struggle in terms of the wrestling that's going to be coming his way from the Andrew Sanchez side of things. I will say this: that third round will be a sweat and a half if you do bet up the Andrew Sanchez side of things. But I do think that he will be able to kind of nullify that striking, push him up against the cage, land a takedown here, and kind of ride that top position. But I will, if I do end up pulling the trigger here on Andrew Sanchez, I will sprinkle a little bit of that round 3 Silva just to be, have a little bit of a hedge and a little bit of insurance. But even taking Sanchez by decision, which is probably his best path to victory in this fight, that's not too bad of a stab. Let me see what that line is since they just dropped it. Sanchez by decision plus 335. Not too
That's
bad.
The look, man. If you like Sanchez, that's the look.
That's not a bad line at all, because I do think he's going to have tremendous grappling success here. And where has he moved his training camp, Clint? Are you aware of where he's gone? He's at
he went to AKA, and
exactly.
I do get that he went to AKA, but man, I got to tell you, like Bruno Silva was able to scramble and get back to his feet against some Russian monsters. I have never been overly impressed with Andrew Sanchez's wrestling ability. He's always been like I said, an Ian Heinisch pin him up against the cage type of guy. He's not Khabib. He's not a guy that's going to rinse and repeat and put you on your ass time and time again. And if anything, man, if he tries that, I'm loving life, because he's never going to survive round 3. If he tries to mat return Bruno Silva, he's going to get tired wrestling rather than tiring out the man he's attempting to wrestle, in my opinion.
That is absolutely a solid point, but I do think he will have success in terms of keeping that top control. I don't think he's going to have to do many mat returns in this spot. I do think he'll have that top control over Bruno Silva here, keep him on the ground, grapple fuck him, as I like to call it, and I think he's going to have tremendous success in doing so. But like you said, that gas tank is a little bit of a worry, and I think even though he's going to be safe and content in terms of grinding this out from on top, he is going to have to use that energy to keep this guy down, which will potentially give him issues in that third round. And we know Bruno Silva has tremendous power as well. So I'm picking Andrew Sanchez by decision. I might bet that decision prop, but I will definitely be hedging on that Bruno Silva round 3, because again, why not? It's almost like taking, like, it didn't work out last time, but like Marlon Moraes round 1 against Merab Dvalishvili, almost hit, plus 900, almost hit. Another one earlier, a couple fights ago, or a couple events ago, Abdul Razak Al Hassan, plus 600 round 1 against Alessio Di Carico, hit, but not a lot of people expected it to hit. Same thing here with Bruno Silva. And if he does make it to the third round and Andrew Sanchez starts to slow down, there's obviously that possibility you can get him out of there. But I'm leaning on the trusting of Andrew Sanchez's wrestling in the spot, and I think we'll see shades of what we were expecting of him once he was coming off the Ultimate Fighter, which was a damn good fighter. If you guys remember back in the day, trying to bet Andrew Sanchez against anybody, you're getting heavy chalk, because a lot of people are big on him. Obviously, it's starting to show his game that he can't go a full 15 minutes at times, but when he does, he's able to grapple fucking his opponents en route to a decision victory, and I'm expecting that to happen this weekend as well.
Okay. Well, man, it's always fun for shows when we disagree. So everybody gets, both sides of the story. And I personally have never been high on Andrew Sanchez. I've never understood why people were so high on Andrew Sanchez, and I'm just the exact opposite here. I don't want anything to do with this, man. If he comes out and he, AKA Sanchez is 2.0 and he's a new monster, then okay, I will eat my words, but I'm going to go ahead and take that shot. I think this is going to be a fun fight, and I can't wait to see where both these guys are at. Honestly, it's kind of a crossroads type of spot, right? Like, Andrew Sanchez needs to beat this guy if he's going to be much of anything in the UFC from this point going forward. And everybody's so high on Bruno right now that if he drops a fight to Andrew Sanchez, especially if it's not a fun fight, if Sanchez gets off that wrestling, makes it slow, makes it boring, then that's going to put a damper on his early run here in the UFC. So I'm very pumped to see where this thing ends up going.
Yeah, I think it should answer a lot of questions for us for sure. Again, we were expecting a similar fight with Turman and Silva, and then Silva was able to turn his lights on. So you could absolutely turn the lights on here of Sanchez. I feel as though, like, if you want to bet Sanchez, like, just taking the KO might be the best shot. Maybe get the most juice from your squeeze as well, right?
If you feel strongly about it, go for it. I'm not endorsing any Andrew Sanchez knockout bets here.
No, sorry, I meant Silva.
Silva. Okay,
that
okay.
would be the best way to get the most juice from the squeeze is what I meant.
I do think he knocks him out, but the dude just got his black belt, so the submission is on the table. I mean, not his go-to move, obviously, but it's there. And then I do think that if things get tough and gritty, there's a chance it squeezes to the judges' scorecards. Minus 130, man, I'm not getting fancy. I'm playing it straight. I got a bigger bet on it at minus 130, and what I like to do is I'll throw a half a unit on one of those props and then have the main bet be just straight on the money line in that type of a situation. And honestly, if I have to pick something, yeah, it'd be knockout. Like, his best path to victory is probably going to be the KO.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm hoping Andrew Sanchez is able to grapple fuck him here. All respect your 2.6 unit shot on the spot, but I do like Sanchez here.
All right, some head to head. I love it, man. Let's go. Next fight up is one that we're gonna have some fun talking about. The Cuban Missile Crisis taking on the Beverly Hills Ninja. Julian Marquez fights Jordan Wright, and holy crap, man! We talk about dumpster diving. Julian Marquez is one of these guys that I think the only reason he's in the UFC is because of how freakishly durable he is. Like, you can hit this guy with the kitchen sink and he's going nowhere. I bet Sam Alvey against this man. Like, I don't think very highly of the skill set of Julian Marquez, but if you can't get him out of there and you can't out-technique him, he eventually walks you down and breaks you. It's just gonna happen eventually. Now, his opponent, Jordan Wright, is the biggest glass cannon I've ever seen in my life. This guy has no durability whatsoever, but he is so offensively gifted. Crazy knockout power from a very, very unassuming figure. Like, you look at this man and you're not like, he's going to destroy that man. Like, no, that never crosses your mind looking at him. He's definitely not somebody who you want to start a fight with on your Sunday morning Bible study, because that looks like where you'd find him. So, man, this is violence, right? Like, violence all day. Jordan Wright is going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here in this spot. I think that matters. If there's a human alive that can finish Julian Marquez, it's going to be Jordan Wright. But can Jordan Wright take a couple of power shots from Marquez? Definitely not. So we have got Julian Marquez in a spot that I don't personally like as a minus 225 favorite. It's hard to argue because of the aforementioned durability issues. But for a puncher's chance, plus 180, plus 200, whatever the hell the KO prop is going to be. Like, if you're looking for a punt, that's not a bad punt because Wright can knock out just about anybody. How are you attacking this fight?
Violence. Violence is how I will attack this fight. Under 1.5 is currently minus 125. I'd be surprised if this even makes it into the second round. I think Julian Marquez is just going to bite down on the mouthpiece, move forward, and he knows he's going to find that chin, and he's going to be able to put this guy down. Shout out to Anthony Hardonk, veteran of the UFC and obviously very high-level kickboxer himself. Main coach of one Jordan Wright, and he's kind of trying to instill that Anthony Hardonk style into Jordan Wright. But it's just that durability. You nailed it on the head, dude. The glass cannon. You couldn't like that. That's the best way to put it for this guy. Very explosive, very athletic. Very
I love
powerful.
that term.
Yeah, very powerful. but he just can't take a shot. Like, what was Jamie Pickett thinking? Like digging in on a takedown as hard as he was. Like it seemed like it was life or death for him to get that takedown, and he held on to it for too long. Jordan Wright unleashed some elbows, and that ultimately ended up leading to the finish there. He's going to be able to beat a guy like that. But Julian Marquez, say what you want about his skill set. The man is durable. The man's never been knocked down in the UFC, never been knocked down even. I think that he'll go out there, eat a couple shots from Julian Wright, but eventually find that chin and put him to sleep. The prop that I'm interested in seeing once it drops is the fight to not start round 2. Like I am that certain that the fight will more than likely stay in round 1. So we have the under 1.5 at -125. I'm expecting slight plus money on the fight to not even start round 2 because that's what I'm expecting this week. And I think we're going to see Marquez know that he can take the shot, move forward, and then knock this guy out.
Okay, I like it, man. I mean, complete agreement here. No questions whatsoever on this fight being a violence candidate, ending early. I don't see much other path to victory for either guy. So hopefully we just go out there and get a fun fight that lasts for about 2.5 minutes or so, and then it's over, because that should be how this one goes. I'll be honest, I would love to see Wright knock out Julian Marquez just from, a personal standpoint, from a hater standpoint. Like, not that I hate Julian Marquez.
You love chaos, Clint. I know that's what
I love chaos. That's it. I am Professor
you
Chaos.
Love to watch the world burn.
No, man. When upsets happen, I absolutely love it. That it's like, this is the spot where we're talking Derek Lewis, Black Beast type of power. If Julian Marquez ends up being a -500 favorite, like, that's just not right, because his opponent can crush his skull in with a single punch. So it'd be fun to see happen.
Yeah, Marquez is currently -125 to win inside the distance, which leads me to believe the KO will probably be around like +100, +115, +120, to be honest, because I think everybody's thinking the same thing here. I think, pretty clear what's going to happen in this fight, in my opinion.
Yep, you got to think it's probably coming. All right, man. We're on the same page there. Next fight up, we have got my future superstar, Manon Fiorot, taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. We already broke this one down. Everybody's ready for this one. We've talked about it a couple times. It got moved, so we don't need to go super hard balls deep here on this one. But Manon Fiorot is a superstar in the making, and I think she's going to cause a lot of people problems, but I cannot trust her here at this line. The fight just moved back a couple weeks. My thoughts haven't changed whatsoever. -220, -225, I think is disrespectful to Mayra Bueno Silva. I think she's better than people give her credit for. She is a fighter who ends up on the ground a lot. She's got nasty submissions, but she's not much of a wrestler, and she never takes anybody down. People shoot on her because she hurts them on the feet. That's how she ends up on the ground, is in scrambles, because people don't want to stand with her anymore. So people are heavily underestimating what Silva's capable here in this spot. I like Fiorot. I'm going to pick Fiorot to win. I think she's nasty. I think she's got a good sprawl, heavy hips. She's going to keep this fight standing. She's probably the more technical striker. Does she hit harder? I'm honestly not sure. Like I said, Mayra Bueno is incredibly underrated in the striking game. So I think there's a chance that Bueno is more live in this spot than we think, but I'm going to stick with my girl Manon Fiorot. And I kind of feel like this is maybe a 15-minute war, man. I don't know that – I think both these women are tough enough that I don't know if anybody's going down. So the over 2.5 is a terrifyingly tempting spot for me to fade the market, because women's MMA – it's -300 to the over 2.5s weekly on these spots. We're getting a pick'em price tag on the over 2.5 because people know how much these two finish. I think this is a step-up spot. Both of them will level up their games. It's going to be more of a chess match. They're going to respect the power coming on the other side of things. I think we end up getting a decision here. How do you feel about this fight?
As a Canadian whose second language that's taught to us is French, I love hearing you butcher her name. I absolutely love it. Manon Fiorot. Okay. Let's roll it a little bit. Let's not.
As an American who went to art school, so he didn't even take Spanish in high school, I do nothing with accents and names and pronunciations. I'm awful.
I love it. I'm just giving you some shit there, Clint. But yeah, I was going into this fight thinking that I would have a bet on Bueno Silva. I thought that Fiorot was just not truly what's legit. Like, I didn't think that she was proven enough to have this kind of type of price tag against a girl like Mayra Bueno Silva. And I'm like, oh, she has a couple of submission victories on her record, so maybe she's going to look to take this fight to the ground and try to pull off a submission. However, Mr. Clint. When you run through the UFC stats page, you're like, oh, she's never attempted a takedown inside the UFC.
0%.
Yeah, 0%. She has no intentions of taking any fight to the ground. If any, she's the one getting taken down, right? I think the best way for a Fiorot to approach this fight is look at that. Actually, maybe not even the Marina Moroz fight, because like she could possibly put herself into some issues if she looks to take this fight to the ground and try to grind up Bueno Silva from on top. Because women's MMA, we know arm bars from guard always happen, and if we have any question marks about what Fiorot's ground game is looking like, you don't want that answered this weekend, especially if you're going to be betting her at chalk. So I do think that we see this fight actually stay on the feet. If it does get dragged to the ground, it will be the first ever takedown attempt in Bueno Silva's UFC career, because again, it's just not something that she does. So that alone is enough for me to not go super heavy on Fiorot this week, as I do think that there's going to be, there could be that change of game plan from Bueno Silva into this spot to be like, okay, let me try to take this woman to the ground because she's probably a better kickboxer than me. She's probably a better striker than me. Let me hang with her for a round on the feet. And if it doesn't work out for me, maybe in the second round, I'll look to take her to the ground if I'm not having too much success, right? The best part of Bueno Silva's striking game, in my opinion, is her striking or her kicks, sorry. Very good kicks, stays very consistent with them as well. But I think that Fiorot will be ready for that. I think Fiorot is the better striker. I think she has tremendous potential. But until she can go out there and prove to us that she can deal with grappling, like her only loss was due to grappling, right? Leah McCourt, her pro MMA debut, she gets grinded out in that fight. But we did see some good things from Fiorot in terms of getting back to her feet. But as the level of competition starts to get higher, it's going to be very difficult. So I do like Fiorot here. I do think she wins a striking battle. I do like the over, like you said as well. I do think that we see this go 15 minutes, but I'm not going to be overly invested in Fiorot in the spot. I saw some comments in the comment section saying Fiorot lock of the night, but when you have that kind of like question mark in your head about a very big part of an MMA fight, which is the grappling here with Fiorot, I can't make that a lock of the night play. But I do like Fiorot in the spot. I might have her in a Hail Mary parlay or two, but I'm not going to go as heavy as most people are making it seem. So, yeah, I really wanted to pick Bueno Silva, Clint. I really did. But there's just nothing on the bone here for me to be like, okay, this is why I'm taking her. She doesn't attempt takedowns. She doesn't attempt takedowns. Give me one takedown, Bueno. Give me one. Maybe we'll see it this weekend, but I'm not putting my money on it. So
she's a jiu-jitsu player, man, not a wrestler.
Exactly. So exactly, what's Fiorot's takedown defense going to look like if she does shoot for takedown? Maybe it's good enough to stay on the feet. And we saw what happened this past weekend when a jiu-jitsu ace is not able to get the fight to the ground.
Oh, yeah.
It's pieced up over fucking 25 minutes. So we'll see what happens this weekend.
And Locke, that's exactly my point, is that I don't think that Bueno Silva is going to be able to take her down. I really don't. So because she's not going to be able to take her down, this is going to stay standing. And I do think that Manon probably goes ahead and wins this thing standing, but I don't know that we're going to see a knockout the way we've seen some of the others, because her opponent is very tough in this spot. So yeah. Shout out to Uncle Wheezy giving us the facts here. I put this up for a minute ago. Manon is a brown belt, has all the makings of an ass shaving right here. Trademark Uncle Wheezy ass shaving. 80% striking defense in two fights so far. So yeah, just ridiculous striking defense. She is so good. So yes, absolutely picking my girl Manon to win this fight. But I'm sure I'll put it in like my Hail Mary parlay and stuff like that. I'll have Manon by decision in there. Maybe looking at the over 2.5, something like that. But no real massive investment on this particular fight for me personally.
It's really a proving ground spot for, let's be honest.
Well, for both of them, you know what I mean? And that's where I feel like Mayra Bueno Silva is being counted out a lot. And this is a step up, prove it to me spot for not one, but for both women. So I'm not going to argue with one of them having the opportunity to come out and show us what they're made of.
I love it.
All right, man. We are moving this show right along. We have just a couple fights left to talk about. Next up, Jim Miller takes on Erick Gonzalez in a very, very strange matchup, especially this high on the card. I mean, Jim Miller, legend in the UFC. All due respect, I know why he is up here, but he's taken on a UFC debutante, and not a particularly good one at that. So it's kind of interesting to see them this high up the chain for this particular fight night. It just shows you how far we are dumpster diving. I would much rather see Manon and Mayra up in this spot over Jim Miller and Erick Gonzalez. So the one thing that I do want to shout out is that Erick Gonzalez, his fight name is the Ghost Pepper, which, I mean, come on, bro. Like, if you're going to be a Latin fighter and you're coming in with a fight name. He's coming in hot with the Ghost Pepper. That's a great,
you see his tattoo?
Great fight name.
He has Ghost Pepper tattooed across his forearm.
I love it. It's so good. So, all right. Jim Miller, honestly, man, the breakdown for Jim Miller these days is super simple. The man's gas tank is running dry. He's a beast in round one. You get classic prime Jim Miller in round one. After that, he's kind of in trouble. He's got serviceable striking. He's a high-level BJJ black belt. Those front chokes, he attacks those things from everywhere. And he's got good, strong wrestling in round one. And then again, he just kind of trails off after that. So if you got a round one prop on Jim Miller, it's never a bad bet. Erick Gonzalez, I mean, he's okay. Like, he's big, he's strong, he's got these long, lanky arms. He's aggressive. I like that he goes for it. You know, he tries to walk his opponents down, but he fires wildly from the hip, man. Like, he throws these big winging shots that just very uncontrolled, looking for the finish. He keeps his hands low. He does have a long jab, which you like to see. I saw him throw a Superman punch once, which you don't see that these days in MMA. He's extremely durable. The dude has never been KO'd, but he's fought a low level of competition, man. He's been submitted before. And 2 of those 5 losses that he has on his record have been by sub. Both of them were in round one. I mean, this seems like the easiest wiki cap of all time. But how is this not Jim Miller by round one sub on this guy that's going to stick his neck into a guillotine for me?
No, dude, I agree. Like, I'm right there with you, man. Like, I was trying to find something on Erick Gonzalez that like made me say, okay, maybe you could give Jim Miller a little bit of a test, but like, he is likely to do something after round one, right? Like you said, Jim Miller falls, it seems like, off a cliff after that first round. An interesting thing about Erick Gonzalez, he was actually scheduled, or they haven't announced it yet, but he was scheduled to fight actually up here in Toronto against one of our hometown guys, and it was seen as one of those spots like whoever wins this will more than likely get a shot at the UFC. But for some reason, they're like, Erick Gonzalez, let's just call you up right now because we need a short notice spot. So luckily for him, he was able to get the spot here. I knew his name was kind of familiar as well, and then when I looked through his record and then obviously did the tape study, I saw that he fought Rafa Garcia, and he gave Garcia a little bit of an issue given, you know, his like length and his ability to stay at range and land some good wild shots from the outside. But it seems like one of those spots where, you know, a well-timed takedown could get him to the ground, and his takedown defense doesn't look the greatest either. So if Jim Miller really wants this on the ground, it seems like he can get it there. And then even if Jim Miller, you know, say what you want about his striking, he still holds a little bit of power there. So even if he is able to counter effectively with the strike, we will see, which I've seen from Erick Gonzalez myself, is a ton of desperate takedown attempts. And that's something that he might look to do here if he gets clipped after one of his wild winging strikes as well. I do like Jim Miller in this spot. Do I like him at minus 200? No. You know what I mean? You know what actually piques my interest is actually the under 2.5, which was sitting at plus money.
I like that.
150 for the under 2.5. I think that we're going to see violence in this fight. Either Jim Miller gets him down and submits this guy, or Erick Gonzalez lands something wild in the second or third round and puts Jim Miller down. Jim Miller is durable. I'll give him that. But given the style of Erick Gonzalez, I think it leads to a finish in this fight, whether it's Gonzalez getting his hand raised or Jim Miller. I'm ultimately going to say Jim Miller by sub, and I look forward to seeing what the odds are there for that when those props come out. But I think the grizzled veteran here in Jim Miller gets his hand raised, finds a submission at some point, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on that under 2.5. I really like that plus money spot.
I think that's a good spot here, Lock. I completely agree. I mean, we did just see Jim Miller go 15 minutes with Vince Pichel, but Pichel was mainly focused on positional grappling in that spot. He wasn't looking to just, you know, massacre Jim Miller super late or anything like that. Whereas if Erick Gonzalez gets the opportunity to hurt Jim, he will. So I think that's a good call. Jim Miller either is going to finish this thing early, or if he can't, we probably see those gas issues kind of rear their ugly head. And then Erick has the opportunity to finish with some big power shots late in the fight as Jim starts to fade away. I think you nailed it. I'm picking Jim Miller by submission. I'm picking Jim Miller by round one submission, but I wouldn't count out Erick landing a big bomb if this fight gets out of the first round. So yeah, man, let's go under 2.5. That sounds like a spot to me.
Violence, Clint.
I love
violence this week one.
My sweet violence. All right. Shout out to Go Flamengo in the chat. I love the name. Thank you so much for the donation, my friend. I appreciate it. If you look at Rockhold's losses, they've only been to the elite. I think that he might have a chance from distance, hold Strickland against the cage, and grind out a decision. People are sleeping on Rockhold. Thoughts? I have been the biggest Luke Rockhold hater in the history of the UFC. A stiff breeze knocks that man out these days. Now, I know he's taken a long time off. He does have elite grappling. He does have elite kickboxing skills. But at the same time, the type of volume that Strickland puts up, I don't think Luke can take that kind of a war anymore. Like, I think that Luke has to get this fight to the ground if he's going to be at all able to control it. And even then, Strickland is way better in the jiu-jitsu realm than most people give him credit for. So I think he's even live on the mat. I'm not looking to back Luke Rockhold personally. Lock, do you have like an early top of the head read on that one?
It's so tough to trust Rockhold with those chin issues, man. And Strickland seems like he can take every shot on the book, so his durability should be able to hold up. It's a very difficult fight, very, very difficult fight. But I lean Strickland here.
Okay. I'm right there with you. Not sure that I'm necessarily going to bet it because, Luke Rockhold, like I said, he is elite in certain aspects of this game. So I don't know that I want to necessarily lay chalk against him, but I do think that Strickland is going to be able to get the dub.
36 years old, Luke Rockhold.
It's just not a good look, man. And he's coming back against a fringe contender, right? Like, he's not coming back for a tune-up fight. He's not coming back against some mid or low-tier level guy. Like, Sean Strickland's not someone to just walk over. That's a tough call to come back after a long layoff being at that age. Mm-hmm. All right. Co-main event time, man, which I guess it's the co-main event. Like, this is a thing that's happening. Andrei Arlovski taking on Carlos Felipe, which I can't stand Felipe, guys. I know everybody loves them some thick Diaz. He's exactly that. He's got high volume, kind of fast hands, good boxing, but that's it. Like, that's where the buck stops. He's got good boxing. He's durable as shit. He walks people down and he likes to rip at their abs, which I do love the body work. I'm not going to lie. I like the body work that he mixes in, but I think he's too small. I don't think that he is suited for heavyweights. And I think that's part of why he's not having a ton of success. If he were to drop down to like 205 or something, maybe he could knock some of those guys out. I just don't think he's big enough to take out these big boys. And Andrei Arlovski, as much as he's getting to the end of his career, he has turned into a just elite fight IQ fighter recently. Completely risk adverse, super elusive, doesn't take big shots anymore, and he put up 105 significant strikes against Chase Sherman. Like, he is not going to let you off the hook these days anymore. So if Carlos Felipe wants to go volume for volume with Arlovski, be my guest. Like, I don't think Arlovski is out of the fight in that capacity whatsoever. And we've talked about Arlovski's chin issues kind of raising themselves up every now and again, but Felipe is not the guy that comes after you with big, crazy knockout power. I mean, honestly, Locke, I hate to say it because it's the co-main event. I don't think I want anything to do with this fight. This is not one that I have any interest in betting. I thought about taking a stance, and at the end of the day, I think it's a pick'em. And I think it's a pick'em for a reason, because you've got Andrei Arlovski, who is the far better fighter, who is much more experienced, and he's definitely using that experience day in and day out in the cage. And then you've got Carlos Felipe, who is younger, he's faster, maybe he hits a little harder at this point, but he's not as good, and he's short on experience, and he's just short. He's tiny at heavyweight. So yeah, I think you can make an argument for either side of this one, and I want nothing to do with a split decision that's going to piss off half the MMA community. What are you doing here?
Dude, what racks my brain the most is Arlovski's career and how we've kind of been betting him, or even his fights, right?
It makes no sense.
February of 2011, he gets knocked out by Sergey Kharitonov. That was his third knockout loss and 4 straight losses back then. Then he puts together a 10-1 record leading into his UFC career once again, getting back into the UFC, and then he gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight losses, 4 of them coming via knockout. Marcin Tybura finishes him or beats him by decision. And like before that, though, he was like a fight or two away from a title shot. right? It was the Stipe Miocic fight. He loses to Stipe Miocic. That's what ends his winning streak. But if he wins that fight, Stipe Miocic was the next one to get a title shot. And he goes out there and beats Fabricio Verdum. He was this close to a title shot after we had written him off in 2011.
Absolutely nuts.
Crazy. Then he goes on his losing streak, and now it's kind of been bouncing around all over the place, right? His last 5 fights, he's 3-2, gets knocked out by Jairzinho Rozenstruik right at the beginning of it, and then obviously the Tom Aspinall fight 2 fights ago where he gets choked out, where he just didn't want any of the groundwork to do.
But his losses are to Jairzinho and Tom, man.
Exactly. But he showcases good things in the Chase Sherman fight, Tanner Boser fight, Philippe Lin's fight, goes out and decisions those guys. Say what you want about the decision itself, right? A couple of them very sketchy. I'd say most notably the Canadian guy, Tanner Boser. I felt that one was a pretty, sketchy decision. But this is the perfect stylistic matchup for him to go out there and just do what he's been doing over the last couple of years. A sparring match. He's just having sparring matches with some of these guys. And that's pretty much what I think we're going to get this weekend. So rather than being tied to a side, like you're saying, let's just take the over, right? What's the over sitting at? I think it's around like minus 185, minus 200. Where is it at? Minus 180 is what I'm seeing right now. Again, I would rather lose my bet to somebody getting knocked out, which is something we haven't seen from either guy. And I'm not saying Carlos Felipe hits as hard as Jairzinho Rozenstruik or some of these guys. And I'd rather just take the over, and then whoever gets screwed out of a judge's decision, we're sitting pretty because we already cashed 2.5 minutes before the last bell went off. So yeah. I'm going over 2.5 if I'm betting this fight at all. If I am throwing into a Hail Mary parlay, I'm likely just doing the over 2.5. I'm not even going to bother picking his side. Like, my mind is 51% Andrei Arlovski, 49% Carlos Felipe. I am leaning on the Arlovski side here. I do think he gets his hand raised, but I wouldn't count out a shady judge's decision in this spot. So over 2.5 for me, Clint.
I agree 1,000% with you, Lock. I love the 49-51% split there. That's kind of how I'm edging myself. I do think I'm going to side with Andrei Arlovski here as far as a win pick, but it could very, very easily go the other direction. I completely agree with that. And I want nothing to do with it. Over 2.5, go for it. I don't think I want to lay that kind of chalk on this particular spot, but I mean, honestly, it probably hits. I don't hate it if you're the type that wants to go ahead and eat that kind of chalk because it probably gets there. So, yeah, let's say Andrei Arlovski by decision, maybe robbery incoming.
Exactly. Don't be surprised.
And do got to shout out Charlie Chips in the chat. He said, "Where's the rule, Clinton?" That's right. We do not bet on fighters that are over 40 years old unless we've got a damn good reason to do so. And that's the point here. I don't have a damn good reason to bet on Andrei Arlovski. I love the guy. And his back class, his experience, if you will, that's just not quite enough of a damn good reason for me to get involved here. So, pass is a pass.
We got 10 other fights, Clint.
That's right. We have 10 other fights, and there's plenty of other opportunities for me to dumpster dive and make a terrible 9-1 prop play rather than risking an even money on a shit fight. So, I will find other spots to put my cash. Main event time, folks.
Oh, my God.
Norma Dumont taking on Aspen Ladd. And we just have another situation here. Like, Aspen Ladd has another horrific shaking on the scales weight-cutting experience. And a couple weeks later, she's main event. Just put her right in. Holly Holm, unfortunately, was supposed to be in this slot. She had to pull out. I think a COVID pullout, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't hate it because I think Aspen Ladd's future is up a weight class, considering what we've seen from her inability to make the cut. I don't think that she's going to be able to stay at 135. I think she's going to have to move up to 145. And I just think this is a dog or pass spot, man. I'm honestly surprised at Aspen Ladd being the favorite. I think that's the hype train working here because I don't see any justification for it. Ladd is 9-1. Dumont is 6-1. So, okay, she's got a couple of extra fights. She fought higher level of competition. I mean, sure, she got knocked out by Jermaine Durand to me in 30 seconds. Is that really fighting a higher level of competition? Like, I wouldn't really count that as fight experience, if you will.
Stepping into the cage with higher level of competition.
Yeah, exactly. She stepped into the cage. Congratulations. And I mean, now, everybody, this is from the guy who was willing to lay -2-1 on Aspen Ladd just 2 fights ago. Like, I was talking her up in that spot. So I respect Aspen Ladd. I like what she brings to the table. I love her killer instinct. I love that she's a finisher. I love that she can just absolutely flip the switch and become a monster on the turn of a hat in the middle of a fight and get it done. That's all great. But she relies on her physicality. And at 145, I simply don't think it's going to be there. She's up a weight class where she is now finally going to be the smaller of the two fighters. And Lock, she is not that great of a wrestler. She relies on the body lock and just overpowering and dragging her opponents to the mat. That's how she wins. So I don't think she's going to be able to do that to Norma Dumont. Dumont just got done with a fight against Felicia Spencer, somebody who we all thought had a chance to submit Nunes back in the day. Like, she fought a much bigger, stronger grappler who's just a bigger version of Aspen Ladd, and she had no problems keeping the fight standing. Have you seen Norma Dumont's thighs? Holy crap. Like, she named one Dalvin Cook and the other is named Alexander Madison. She's got running backs for legs. She's not going anywhere. You're not double legging this chick. So I just don't think that Aspen Ladd is going to have much success grappling against Norma Dumont. And I know some people are going to be like, well, she did get taken down by Felicia Spencer. And then once she did get taken down, she had no answer. She was stuck on her back. Guys, watch the fight. Watch the fight. She didn't get taken down until the third round. In the third round, with 1 minute left on the clock, she goes for a hip toss and ends up failing and on bottom. She didn't even get taken down. It was her own technique failing that led to her being on the mat. So as long as she doesn't try to hip toss Aspen Ladd, we're probably in the clear. I think that Norma Dumont is the superior striker here. She's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. And I think she hits harder than Aspen Ladd, believe it or not. She's a natural 145er, so she's got the size advantage. I just don't get it. I took 2 units on Norma Dumont at plus 130, and it looks like that line's already on the move. She's down to plus 125, plus 120. I see a plus 110. Like, that, she's crashing at this point, and I think that's right. I think the wrong fighter is favored, folks. I know Aspen Ladd should have no problems getting to the scale at 145, but I don't think that matters. I just think she's going to deal with a bigger, stronger fighter for the first time in the UFC, and it's going to not go her way because of it. Talk to me, man. Am I off on something?
For the fans' viewing pleasure, it would be great for me to pick the Aspen Ladd side here. But I absolutely agree with you, Klein. I love Norma Dumont in this spot as well. She's one of my more, the one of the dogs I'm leaning heavier on this entire card. And I love how you try to keep it PG by saying, look at those thighs. Let's be honest, Clint. Let's be honest. What everybody's looking at over here.
I tweeted the official pick out, and you should have seen some of the horny-ass comments.
I saw it. I saw the tweet. You had to tweet
my Twitter was on fire today because I got to be more strategic about the pictures that I choose of the fighters, because apparently it was a little too hot to handle, the Norma Dumont picture.
There you go. No, I think that's going to work in her favor in this fight. I think it's going to be difficult for Ladd to land this takedown here to implement her game, which is just kind of grapple fuck her opponents. A lot of her success comes from that, like the body lock takedown, which a lot of that takedown is a lot of strength, right? You got to you really use your strength to muscle women to the ground, especially with that type of takedown. I think she's going to struggle to do that here against a girl like Norma Dumont. And then in the striking realm, I think Norma is a much better striker. Ladd has this very weird striking style where it looks like she knows what to do in terms of keeping her hands up, but then the rest of her body just doesn't really know what to do. It looks like she's marching in some sort of army or something like that, but it just doesn't make sense to me. And
it reminds me of the Ronda Rousey booty shake when she's shadowboxing. That it's like, it just doesn't work. Like, what are you doing?
Like, she's trying to throw straight shots down the middle and try to throw combinations and all that, but there's nothing on it. There's nothing on it at all. And I think that Norma Dumont will clearly show that she's going to be the more effective striker. She did a really good job in terms of whenever she's throwing shots, she circles away from the cage and gets back to the middle of the cage. She has very good fight IQ in terms of, especially in that Felicia Spencer fight, where kind of similar fight here, right? The other fighter needs to get Dumont to the ground to have tremendous success. and secure victory. But anytime Felicia Spencer did enough to kind of push her to the warning track, we see Norma Dumont throw a combination and then circle away and get back to the center of the cage. Having that wherewithal is going to be very important for her, especially in this fight against Aspen Ladd, who's going to be looking to jab her to the cage and try to get that body lock and try to drag her to the ground. I don't think it's going to be effective here. I like Norma Dumont. I've always been scared of betting Norma Dumont fights because we've never really had too much data on her in terms of like the actual fight footage that we're able to find on the interwebs. And we have enough of it now, in my opinion, right? The Ashley Evans Smith fight, the Felicia Spencer fight, even the Megan Anderson fight, right? Like, I felt as though if that fight went longer, she probably would have beaten Megan Anderson. And there was a weird stoppage there too. She gets dropped, but like the referee gives her no opportunity to kind of like follow up or get back to her feet or even try to fight back. They didn't even get her any shot there. So even though a lot of people are going to be like, look at this L on her record, she shouldn't be losing to a girl like Megan Anderson. Watch that fight back. Like, in my opinion, an unjust stoppage. Even with that in mind, I think she goes out there, outstrikes Ladd, keeps us at distance, nullifies the grappling that Ladd is going to look to impose in this fight. Maybe even get some grappling of her own going. You know, she has that, if I'm not mistaken, BJJ brown belt. She's been doing a bunch of BJJ competitions. She has, she has the ability to do work on the ground if it does hit the ground. Obviously, that last minute of the Felicia Spencer fight doesn't look the greatest, but hopefully she knows that she needs to be more active and actually do something rather than just lay on her back. Maybe she was just confident knowing, okay, I got 1 minute left of this fight. I definitely won the first 2 rounds. Let's just ride this shit out. Why do I need to put myself into a position to potentially get tapped or something like that? But she got 5 rounds this time around. So let's see how it actually works out. But I do like her, and I'm going to take her probably by decision in this spot. I think we see it go full 15 with Dumont controlling the majority of it.
Now,
or 25.
Is it 15? I was going to say, because I know it's a short notice. I'll be honest, man. I would be tempted on Norma Dumont getting a knockout here in this spot. I mean, we've got Aspen Ladd coming off that double knee surgery or whatever it is. Like, I don't know what her gas tank is going to look like. She was training for a 15-minute fight, couldn't make the weight, and now she's in a 25-minute fight. Those last couple rounds could get super sketchy. Plus, if she does go with her normal takedown, get this opponent to the ground strategy, she's going to be fighting an uphill battle against someone bigger and stronger than her for the first time. That gas tank may run on empty a little bit quicker than it would have in the past. Believe it or not, I feel like Norma Dumont by knockout is somewhat on the table here in this spot.
It could have happened again. That does not look comfortable in the striking realm. Even the Eubanks fight, right? Eubanks was having a tremendous success landing good combinations on her. Exactly. Now I think you're getting a better striker with Norma Dumont. We'll see how it goes.
I'll wait for that knockout prop to come out, man. That may be a sprinkle spot, and it's sure as hell going to be in one of my degenerate Hail Mary parlays. I'll be having some Dumont by knockout taste for sure. All right, everybody. Hey, that's UFC Vegas 40. We went dumpster diving hard tonight, and hopefully it was a fun, entertaining show for you because not a very good card. But I think
we made some good shit pie, Clint.
We made some good shit pie.
I see some comments. People say we should do this more often. So the fact that we were able to add some entertainment value to breaking down a shit card like this, I think we did our job.
That's always the goal, man. So first off, I just want to thank you for jumping in here. I threw up the lock signal and you answered. So appreciate you jumping on the show, man. Let the people know where they can find you and follow you and catch your content because they absolutely need to be from this point moving forward.
Shout out to GoGo_Flamingo with the dono. They're asking what our locks are for this weekend. Personally, my lock of the night play, I've already played Ľudovít, Klein, probably with Sijara, Eubanks. I got minus 124 on that, and I went 5 units deep on that. And in terms of myself, you guys can follow me at MMA LOTN on all social media platforms. That's Twitter and Instagram specifically. And then in terms of YouTube, MMA LOTN or MMA Lock of the Night, you guys can follow up. My solo podcast will be coming out tomorrow. I think I'm going to be doing my props show as well with John Stargarian tomorrow as well. We had to do a little bit early.
Love that show.
Friday, Ultimate Weigh-In Show. Special guest is going to be the GOAT. Tajik Bey is coming on the show.
Tajik Bey.
I had to get him on the show. Got to get him on the show. So he's going to be coming on this Friday. And then every fight day, I do a fight day live chat, 1 p.m. Eastern, where I take all last minute comments, questions, and concerns so that you guys can take it over to the betting window and get in your last minute your bets there. So Clint, always appreciate jumping on, whether it's short notice, whether it's for a shit card, whether it's for the best card. You know, I love chopping it up with you, brother.
Hell yeah, man. Always love it. So for me, my lock, you know what? So here's the thing. I don't have a lock for you for Saturday's card. I guess Norma Dumont, my 2-unit play on her would probably be my favorite pick on the card so far. But what I do have, Lock, is the third ever 7-unit bet on the Die Hard MMA podcast. We are 2-0 when risking the 7-unit bet. And what I've got is UFC Vegas 41. That's not this weekend. That's next weekend. Mason Jones is a free square, in my opinion. We know he beat the brakes off of that guy the last fight. He was headed to cash me that round 3 sprinkle. And now, of course, the line is 3 times as high because everyone realized what a mismatch it is. But hey, they rebooked it. So I'm going to put him in the parlay with my guy, Alexander Volkov, the one who started the 7-unit bet himself, Alexander Volkov, at UFC 267. So it's a bit of a look-ahead parlay, but that's minus 148. I risked 7 units to win 4.73 units. And even should Mason Jones' opponent, Alan Patrick, pull out, because we know he's probably going to get cold feet at the last second, Alexander Volkov is right around minus 225 or minus 250, and I'm perfectly fine with risking the 7 units straight on him should that be the case. And then as far as a greasy 4-leg parlay, as Go Flamingo requested in the donation there, I would say greasy 4-leg parlay. I'm gonna go dog hunting, folks. Brandon Davis. Let's go Emeev, Klein, and then I'll close it out with Jim Miller. There you go. There's your 4 legs. You got 1 dog mixed in, so it should pop that price up, so it's nice there for you. That's not an official bet for me. I'm just flying that off the top of my head because of the question. Follow my guy, Manpreet, at MMA Lock of the Night on Twitter. And J-Dog, I love you, buddy. No politics. Keep that shit out of my chat.
Yes.
I don't care what side of the fence you're on. No politics. We're talking fights. At this point of the night, Lock, I'm going to go ahead and break down the Dana White's Contender Series card. So I like to give my guests the opportunity, if you've done the tape study, if you feel like talking Contender Series, hang out with me. You're more than welcome to dip if you're not prepared or don't feel like it or don't have the time, or if you just got to pee.
I am actually going to catch the exit here because I haven't done the tape on it myself. That is what is on my to-do list as soon as I hop off this, because I do got to drop an article over there for my guys on the Discord as well. So yeah, I'll be tuning in afterwards to see if our views line up. I always like making my own conclusions first before seeing what other people say. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing right now. But yeah, again, appreciate you having me on, brother, and good luck this weekend. I can't wait to do it again.
Good luck to you too, man. I'm glad we agreed on a couple good spots, I feel like, and I'm going to be sweating that head-to-head spot because Sanchez is, I see the path. I know why the line is close, but I just like the other side. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see how it goes. Take it easy, brother.
All right. Good luck, man. Talk soon. All right. Huge shout out, huge thank you to my guy Manpreet. Love that guy, love having him on the show, of course, as always. We got 180 live viewers. Thank you all so much for still hanging out with me. If you haven't yet, smash the like button for me. Make sure you subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio because, yeah, Charlie Chips, I'm fucked. So I'll be honest, keeping like my left eye here on the game, there should have been so many more scores already, like a goal line turnover for the Colts, and then a bad 3rd down for the Ravens. Like, there could absolutely be more points on the board right now, so pretty upsetting. But razor sharp picks on the under, so I kind of knew I was in trouble when he was on the under and I was on the over. Not looking great. Hopefully they explode in the second half. Let's talk Contender Series. Something I actually, know a little bit about. Believe it or not, folks, I am on a 4-0-1 run in the Contender Series. That's right, me, the worst Contender Series bettor of all time, on a 4-0-1 run. So pretty excited for that. Let's do this, SB. Let's get right on into it. All right. So first fight on the Contender Series card here is going to be Catherine Paprocki taking on Maria Silva. And Paprocki is coming in on short notice. She's a fighter that has good, solid forward pressure. She likes to attack that low calf. She crowds her opponents, pins them up against the cage, looks for the body lock, mixes in trips, and when she's on top, she's solid. She's got good hands, good elbows, big knees in the clinch. Very, very hittable. She's very young. She's very green. And she trains with my girl, Roxy. I'll be honest with you guys. we have a future simp bet in the making on Catherine Paprocki here. I like everything that I see from her. I just think that, honestly, it's a little much too soon. She's a BJJ blue belt, and she's got a lot of holes in her game. She's got a long way to go, but I absolutely feel like she could get there. Now, her opponent, Mayra Silva, extremely light on her feet. A good, solid Muay Thai striker. She likes to attack the legs. She's got a hard 1-2. She fires her right cross right down the pipe. Love to see that. Good head movement. Really good head movement. She attacks in flurries, and she's got a good killer instinct. Classic Brazilian padded record. She's fought nobody. If you look at her record, she's fought absolutely nobody. So that's something that's always concerning, but we've seen this before. When the UFC finds a Brazilian star, and they bring her in on the Contender Series, and she's fought not a soul, that's when they step up. That's when they take that jump. And it seems like they always just end up doing what the UFC thought they would, right? Like, UFC don't miss on the Brazilian prospects. So I do think that Silva is worth the price tag here, taking on a short notice opponent who's just a little green for this spot here. I do have Silva in a parlay. And I'm going to rush through these a little bit, guys. I apologize. I love to interact with the chat and all that stuff, but the show's going a little bit long. I want to wrap up this Contender Series shit and get some food in me. Next fight up, we got Chris Duncan taking on Slava Borshchev. I can't pronounce French names, but apparently I can do these Slovakian ones. Chris Duncan is a fighter out of Extreme Couture. Dude's got a 100% finish rate on him. Six of his 7 wins have come by way of knockout. Dude's vicious. 1 submission. He's in stupid physical condition. This is one of those guys. Just a brick shit house. He's fought a decent level of competition. He likes to stay in your face, stalk you down. Very, very heavy on his feet. And he looks to stand in the pocket and swing bombs. He just wants to trade. He's confident in his durability. He's confident in his power. His opponent, though, Slava on the other side of this thing, comes from Team Alpha Male, and actually, he's a high-level kickboxer. He's the Team Alpha Male striking coach. This man has 300-plus kickboxing fights under his belt. So even though he is short on experience in MMA, he's a beast when it comes to striking. So don't count him out in that area whatsoever. Training at Team Alpha Male, you know that wrestling is coming along. He's got strong hips, good takedown defense, great head movement. He's got a good sprawl on him. And when he gets on top of people, he seems to know the wrestling just well enough to get on top of people, and then he pounds them through the floor. That's what this guy is capable of. I took a dog shot here. Chris Duncan is not somebody that I'm overly impressed with. I know he's got that power. He could win this thing by knockout, absolutely. But I think Slava is the much slicker striker. I think he's much more skilled. I think he's much more talented. And I think if it were to hit the ground, Slava may actually have the advantage coming from the camp that he does. And then on the feet, I think that Slava can technique his way to a decision win. Or, if this fight gets late, Chris Duncan, he's a round 1 guy. He's been into the second round a couple of times. If it gets to round 3, how's he look? We don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and bank on Slava here with that kickboxing experience. Plus 105 is the line I got. Went ahead and took a shot. And then, Aiden Simone here. Good point here that Duncan has made weight 3 times in 1 week. So he's had a couple of recent fights. You got to question that. The weight cut can't be easy on the guy. Might check the durability just a little bit. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and take the shot here, folks. I'm going to take the shot. So as you all know, Contender Series is hard. Like, I'm on this run. I love to pound my chest and be excited about how good I'm doing right now in Contender Series. But the fact is, a couple of my wins have been quarter or half unit wins because I've been just barely squeezing by. There have been some sketchy decisions. There have been some questionable stoppages. I mean, there's been a decent amount of luck bounces involved. I'm not going to lie. So definitely think that we need to take this week with a grain of salt. It's sketchy as ever, and I just think taking a little stab on the dog is what I'm looking for here. I've got one more of those to get to here later on in this card. Next fight we've got to talk about is Jake Hadley taking on Mitch Raposo. Now, Jake Hadley is a fighter you may know, Cage Warriors champion, finally making it over to the UFC, one of the hottest, most anticipated prospects outside of the UFC, kind of a big deal. He's finally making his way over. His opponent, Raposo, this kid was on The Ultimate Fighter. So he didn't cut it on the Ultimate Fighter that most recent season. He was Team Volkanovski. Now he's making it to the UFC. They're giving him another opportunity to fight his way in. Both these guys, good grapplers. The difference for me here is that Hadley goes forward and Raposo goes backwards. Raposo's got good footwork, but he plays the outside. It's not very pleasing to the eye. The judges, we've seen it time and time again, they favor that aggression. They feel like the guy moving forward is the guy winning the fight. Raposo's got good, lightning fast counter shots. He's got decent power, but he doesn't always pull that trigger. And he just likes to stay away on the outside, very risk-adverse approach. So he's a good fighter. And if he would pull the trigger, I think he could be a lot better than we've seen. But I also think the way he fights is just not plus EV going forward. Jake Hadley, this guy comes forward, he attacks the legs, he's got incredibly fast hands. I mean, like wicked fast hands. He always strikes in 2-3 punch combinations. He stalks his opponents. Good level changes. And this guy is a beast on the mat. Now, Raposo's got some good takedown defense. He's got some strong hips, so I don't know if Hadley's going to be able to get this thing to the mat, but if he does, he's a monster when he gets the fight to the floor. So I kind of lean to Jake Hadley here, but he had some trouble on the scales. He missed weight. He looked bad. He looked bad on the scales. He had the opportunity to take another hour to cut the additional weight. Couldn't get it done. Yeah, I want to bet against him because of what I saw on the scales today. But at the same time, I just can't bet against him here because of the opponent, because of the situation, because of what we got going on. I'm going to pick Hadley to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Raposo makes this a fight. And as a big, juicy, fat underdog, I wouldn't hate anybody rolling the dice, fading the guy that just missed weight, because we have seen him chin-checked a couple times. If Raposo pulls that trigger, he's live for a knockout. I'll be honest. Raposo could knock this kid out. Co-main event time, Lorenzo Hood taking on Martin Buday. And this one, I'm going to keep quick. I think Hood, they call him the dream killer. He's never been to the judges, 100% finish rate. And he has 3 or 4 losses by submission, 1 loss by knockout. USADA is going to eat this guy alive. Like if he were to get a UFC contract, we're not going to see him for 4 years anyway. He does everything with raw power, and if you make him grapple, he cracks. He relies on that knockout power. He's a big heavyweight, and that's all he does. He went on an 0-2-1 run, and then he got back on the horse. His last 3 opponents, 1-12, 2-9, 4-17. He's fought a terrible level of competition to get himself in this position, and he's taking on a real heavyweight. I'm actually really stoked on Martin Buday. This guy looks like he's the goods. He's huge. He's got a 4-inch height advantage. He is tall. He is thick. He's a giant. Long jab, shockingly light on his feet, this guy. Very athletic, good footwork, good head movement, and he maintains range very, very well. He's got pinpoint accuracy. You guys should see some of the knockouts he has. It's not just winging and praying. He is a sniper with his cross, and he hurts people with every single punch. He's also dangerous grappling. He mixes in level changes well, and when he gets on top of people, they're dead. He's got good submission offense, big ground and pound. Like, this guy is a monster when he gets on top of you. So you're not safe anywhere. I absolutely love Buday in this spot, but the line is long gone. I hope you guys follow me on Twitter because I put him in the parlay with Silva. I got minus 148. No, that's the other one. I got minus 149 on the parlay with Silva. I did risk 2.94 units or whatever it is. To go ahead and win 2 units on that parlay. When those props come out, if they give me the props again this week, it's Buday by submission, folks. I think he's going to get the takedown against Hood. I think he's not going to want to do anything with Hood on the feet standing because that's Hood's one path to victory. If he gets the body lock, drags him to the floor, that sub is going to be there. We've seen it happen before. And Hood gasses. You know, I love fading people that get tired. That sub is always there. They're too tough to knock out, but they sure as hell tap. So I'm definitely going to take a sprinkle on the big man by submission. And now that brings us to our main event of the evening. Junior Cortez taking on Christian Rodriguez. And this is the main event for a reason. This is a fun fight, folks. This is going to be a fun fight. Christian Cortez is fighting out of the MMA lab. 4 of his 5 wins are by knockout. Keeps a low stance, feints level changes on people, explosive right cross. Likes to play a little bit too much with his hands low, but he chops the legs. He's always chopping at the legs. mixes in knees up the middle to keep people guessing and fires these big power hooks. He does leave his chin up in the air just a little bit, but he's a young kid, and I think that's something he'll be correcting. Christian Rodriguez trains out of Rufus Sport, a gym that personally I'm not a big fan of. I'm not super high on Rufus Sport these days. I think that they have had some cracks in the armor. A lot of good fighters have left that gym because of it. I'm not sold on anybody coming out of Rufus Sport, but he's got a 100% finish rate. He looks like he's a legit talent here. Fast hands, good timing. He's very patient, and that's something that fighters at this stage of their career, they don't have. They flurry and they make mistakes going for the finish. He will let the finish come to him. You love to see that. Big knees to the body, keeps a high pace, nice level changes, good slick BJJ. And he's another fighter that missed weight today. He required the box of shame. I'm fading him. He didn't cut weight well. He's coming out of the camp I'm not a big fan of. He's got that 100% finish rate against a fighter from the MMA lab, which I grade slightly higher. I think Cortez is legit, and I think this line is a little bit too wide. I got plus 164 on Reyes Cortez. So my betting card for Dana White Contender Series is Cortez plus 164, Slava plus 105, and then the big 2.9 unit bomb on Silva and Bidet. I'm looking at violence in the Bidet fight. I'm looking at Bidet by submission, inside the distance, whatever the hell you want to do there. That's the Tuesday Night Contender Series read, folks. All of you 150 still hanging out with me at this point, especially when there's a Monday Night Football game going on. Y'all are the real ones. I appreciate you all so much. Really do. This year has been a roller coaster, up and down. And if you haven't hung with me all that long, if you're relatively new to the show, one thing that I want to make sure is super clear is that my number one goal is to put on a fun show for you guys. I am not a professional sports bettor, and I take shots where if you were, paying for somebody, if you were paying for just the most premium picks of all time, winners, there are things I do that they would not do. And that's I'm giving you that on the silver platter, letting you know that it's a free show. I want to entertain you every single week in, wink out. And I want to put money in your pockets. I want to make money for us long term. I'm working on my betting skills, but I do the Hail Mary parlays. I take shots on big, fat underdogs because I can. And if you don't agree with the picks, that's fine. I go on cold streaks. I absolutely do. Right now, your boy's hot. So let's keep it hot to end the year. I want to end 2021 with a bang. I just did the math. I think we're at 23 units up for the year so far on the official record. I'm looking for 50. 50 was the goal last year. I shit the bed at the end of the year and went negative, actually. So trying our hardest, our damnedest, not to go negative at the end of 2021. Let's finish strong, folks. I appreciate you all so much. Follow me at Die Hard MMA Pod. And of course, if you love the content, tips and donations, if you're doing it here in the chat, it goes directly to Pub Sports Radio. It helps us keep the lights on here. We appreciate that. I always put up my my PayPal, my Venmo, that kind of stuff. If you cash with me, especially like on the Agapova by Sub Prop last week, like those kinds of spots, always appreciate donations and stuff. I'm not a high roller. I don't have a Lamborghini and I got a family to feed. So thank you all very much again. I'm beyond grateful. Like, I started the show hot. I started the show high. I came out hard because coming off a big win like that, especially coming off a huge loss like that, it just felt damn good. And now's the point where all that energy is sapped. I've spent the night with you guys and with Lock. The energy is drained, and all that's left is gratitude. I'm not even kidding. I love you guys so much. Thank you for the support. You have a wonderful week. Tune in here, Pub Sports Radio. Hockey's back. My guy Ian is going to be on here. Jimmy is a legend and taught me the goodness of hockey. It's just violence on ice, folks. It's MMA on ice. I love hockey. So we're going to go ahead and make sure you support them. Make sure you tune into all the other great shows here. Razor Sharp Picks, shout out Connor Mack. The boys, Nick, Locker Room, Billy, DFS doing all the great content every single week. We bring a lot of free content to you here, folks. Support them. And I'll be back with the Total Takedown probably on Wednesday, Thursday. And then, of course, the undefeated post-weigh-in show every single Friday. Peace out, everybody. Let's roll. Have a good week.